Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Monday morning. Big weekend, a lot of stuff going on. Kyle Whittingham's coming back for another year of football. All the Ute quarterbacks seem to be leaving. Apparently, the new offensive coordinator doesn't want pro-style pocket passers because they are all gone. Or maybe it's a wild coincidence. Doesn't seem like a wild coincidence. PK will have more on that coming up. Right now, we're going to talk a little BYU football. They are going to the Alamo Bowl to play Colorado. Who could have possibly guessed, right? This was always going to happen. Here's Kalani Sitake in a press conference right after they make the announcement.
We appreciate your support here today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Coach Sitake to make a few opening statements about this year's Valero Alamo Bowl.
Thank you very much, Derek. And on behalf of the BYU football program and our fans, our staff, our coaches, administration, we're really excited to be invited to the Valero Alamo Bowl. We're looking forward to the matchup. Obviously, I'm looking forward. For me, the destination is always about food too, and I know San Antonio can hold its own when it comes to food. So I'm looking forward to gaining some weight that week. But more than anything, I'm really excited about the matchup that we have against Colorado and Coach Prime. I've known Dion and been able to interact with him, and I'm a big fan of his. It's been fun to be able to watch him and him lead his team this year. And we've had some crossover games, so we've been able to watch their film and see how they perform. And we've been really impressed with what they do on the field. I love the way he leads his team. I love their connection to him. It's a great example to me as a coach to see the way he leads and the way he does it with his faith in Christ and in God. And so we're really excited about this matchup, and we thank you for inviting us to the bowl game, and we're looking forward to the week, the festivities, and obviously the food. Go Cougs. Appreciate it.
Well, Coach, I'm glad you touched on that. And one of the things we're going to ask you about is tell us a little bit about what you've learned from past bowl trips. Obviously, you're here for the game, but there's a whole experience behind it. So how do you prepare for a bowl trip, and specifically this one in San Antonio? We hear you got some good restaurants planned up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always willing for a challenge. I'm a guy that eats. Most people eat till they're full. I eat till my mouth gets tired, and as you can tell, I got a pretty healthy mouth. So I'm really looking forward to all the entire lineup that you guys have for us. I think the bowl games, everyone's focused on the game, and we understand that. But I'm really looking forward to the interaction with the people in the community at San Antonio. Looking to be able to interact with the team of Colorado and what they represent, because I like what they represent, and I like the way they do it and the way obviously that they're led with Coach Prime. So I'm looking forward to all of it, and I think once we get through the week, we can get to the game, and it's a great way to end the week of fun. And obviously, I mean, for us, it's our last time that we get to do this as a family, as a team, with these seniors, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. But regardless of the outcome of the game, it will be an honor for us to be in San Antonio, to be a part of this game. It's one of the prestigious games in college football, and so we're looking forward to the game and the matchup. But more than anything, looking towards the connection, the friends that we may make, and also the memories that we're going to make. So looking for the entire thing, the entire experience, and we're really excited about the game. But regardless of the outcome of the game, we're really honored to be on that field and to share it with Colorado.
Awesome. One more, Coach. Before we get on, I want to say again, congratulations for your recently announced extension. Job well done and well earned. And tell us a little bit also about what all goes in behind the scenes getting ready for a bowl experience. We know about the game, we know the events, but talk a little bit about getting that team ready not only for this game but next year. What those extra practices do for you too.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head when you talk about the extra practices and having that time to develop. Obviously, we need to get more developing, and there's never a stop in the game of football. You have to keep progressing. And so even though you may take a few steps back, this is a great opportunity for us to progress as a program, to get where we want to be, and to make sure that we've end the season right. And by I mean end the season right, it's not on the result based on the game. It's about us playing clean, getting to the next level, and then making sure that we can get these young men that are going on to the next level and trying to progress their careers in the NFL and in other professions, and also for these young underclassmen to step up and be able to take this team into the next level of 2025. So this will be a very important part of our program, and I'm pretty sure Coach Prime's looking forward to the same thing. We're just really excited about all of it. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of work, but I think can't miss out on all the fun that's happening with it.
All right, it's going to be BYU and Colorado in the Alamo Bowl Saturday, December 28th. We are going to take a break. When we come back, the Utah Jazz, a split decision this weekend, a clean sweep for the Utah Hockey Club. That's next. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Well, the Utah Jazz went to Portland and won by 42, and then went to Sacramento and lost by 44. It's like an 86-point swing. Unbelievable. Getting whiplash from these guys. Here is the best of the postgame show.
Sure Jazz recap here on DJ and PK 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Tough loss last night for the Utah Jazz. They fall to the Sacramento Kings 141-97 in Sacramento. The Jazz shot just 38% from the field. They were led by Keontae George, who had a solid night with 25 points, 6 assists. He had 4 steals as well. But everybody else struggled shooting the ball. 19 for John Collins, 15 for Colin Sexton. Meanwhile, Sacramento shot the lights out, 57% from the field, 50% from 3. Kevin Huerter led the way with 26 points. De'Aaron Fox added 21. Let's get to the postgame sound of Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
We gave up 44 points in the paint, and they made 5 free throws. So that's a heck of a lot of jump shots made in one game. That's the way the NBA is now. Games can feel crazy when teams get hot shooting the ball from kind of everywhere. I felt like as the game went on, we just were sort of off their body. They also made us pay. Almost every mistake in transition, I feel like, was a layup or a 3. 19 turnovers again is a tough number, but that's a really, really talented offensive team that they have. They got a lot of guys who can shoot the ball. Fox made some mid-range shots tonight that I thought were, a couple of them were tough, a couple of them were open, but for the most part, I felt like the Fox-Sabonis piece of the game, they were guarded relatively well for the majority of the night. Huerter really made an impact on this game off the bench. He's a really, really good player that moves well off the ball. And again, anytime he was open tonight, he made us pay. So there's a lot of work to be done. Personnel recognition, certain moments when the rotations start, the game becomes about choices, because you're basically at a numbers disadvantage once that first advantage is created by the offense. And tonight we didn't do a great job of recognizing the personnel, but again, they deserve credit for their shot making tonight. There's things to clean up for sure. On the flip side, we did not make shots. I think we were 5 for 16 in the paint in the first half. And their team has a lot of strengths. Size at the rim defensively is not necessarily one of them. I felt like we missed a few bunnies that we should have made. And ultimately the turnovers, really ended up hurting us tonight.
The points in the paint, transition notwithstanding, but what was the biggest issue there? Was it rotations that kind of opened things up a little bit for them there for you guys defensively?
I'm sorry.
Like, why were they able to score so many points in the paint?
Yeah, they didn't score that many points in the paint.
Oh, I thought you were...
No, they had 44, which is a pretty good number. I thought we did a good job as a team protecting the paint. I felt like we ended up off their body too much on the perimeter, and they were able to generate some threes, some of that backside action, like where Huerter's coming out of the corner. We just didn't get connected to him early enough. But I felt like for the most part, we made them play the game on the perimeter for a lot of the night, and they made us pay with a lot of shot making.
I looked up the stat that after a 40-point win, franchise history, the Jazz are 2-13 after those, which you wouldn't necessarily expect you to be playing well, right? Like, is there kind of a letdown mentality after a game, like after a big win, or like why would you guess that is, and did that play any role in tonight?
Yeah, it's an interesting stat. I'm not sure. I don't want to point at that because I don't necessarily know what they were all thinking. I felt like we had a we got to Sacramento after the Portland game, so we were here yesterday. We went to the gym. We had a practice. We had a film session. We kind of went through our normal post-game and then pre-game for the next game process. I think it also, in some ways, just shows that 40-point wins are usually outliers. It's not necessarily indicative of how well you're playing. It's a night where it all goes well. Yes, you played very well, but that doesn't mean that you're playing at that level. But yeah, I felt like there was a little bit of a letdown in certain areas of physicality. Again, it's another night where we're reintegrating two people back in, and some guys aren't playing, and now some of the play calls are different, some of the schemes are different because we have new personnel in the game. Sacramento's also a tough cover because they have some really unique personnel, but I do think that while we're in this space of guys kind of being in and out, it's tough for young players to find continuity. I think for any team to find a level and sustain it, we do need to have continuity. Teams that can do the in and out thing are usually teams with a lot of veterans, or they've been together for a long time, so they have kind of a deeper understanding of everybody on the team. But it's an interesting stat. I don't necessarily think there was like a massive letdown tonight.
And then I wanted to ask too about I think you played 11 guys in the first half, and then Svi quickly in the third. So why did you go with kind of an 11, 12-man rotation tonight? What were you saying there?
Yeah, it wasn't the plan. But I felt like there was a lack of execution in certain areas and a lack of desperation in certain areas. And so it's my job on certain nights to try to stir it up a little bit and to try to find guys and groups that are going to really bring it. A 10-man rotation is hard. I'm never seeking to play an 11-man rotation. But certain moments call for certain things, and we have to try to find a spark. We have to try to find something that can shift a little bit of the momentum. I thought that Svi didn't shoot the ball well, but I always think that he plays so hard. It's interesting to look at a game where you lose by 44 and he plays 11 minutes and is a positive in the plus-minus. It wasn't the plan. It was just kind of looking at the situation and trying to make an adjustment.
Lowry's had quite a few games recently where looks like he's getting to the right spot, but they're being so physical with him offensively that he's not getting a ton of clean looks off, no matter if he's inside or outside. Is there a way that he can combat that more than what he's doing right now?
I felt like tonight he missed a few opportunities to shoot some threes, some of those pocket threes. Lowry's such he's so dutiful that sometimes he doesn't take the license of being the best player and the things that come with that in certain moments. And he's trying to do the right thing in terms of I'm going to drive and kick and try to generate ball movement. But I felt like the games where he's been really successful this year are when he has not missed the opportunities to shoot threes. Because then teams start to really overreact to him on the perimeter, and then all the driving reads are way cleaner. Again, you're out a game, you come back. Yes, there have been tons of games where teams are being very physical with him. Sometimes there's little reads that he can make. Sometimes the team needs to execute the adjustment a little bit better. We have certain reads versus certain coverages that require more than one person to see it. And that's the case in all team sport. It's not like Lowry recognizes it and does one thing and it's fine. Everybody needs to see the coverage and react accordingly. So it's not a Lowry problem. It's an us problem.
Defensively, I know you talked about transition defense wasn't the best tonight, but looking at the half-court defense, you guys pushed them on the perimeter a lot, you said. But what else stood out to you about that defense specifically? Yeah,
I think there's been some really good moments lately of containing the ball. It's been an issue for us to start the season, and I feel like we have some guys taking a lot more pride in their individual defense at the point of attack, and it keeps us out of long rotations. When you get blown by at the top, the rotations get long and the reads get way more obvious for the offense. So I felt like for the most part, the individual defense has continued to improve. There were times where while we did contain the ball, we didn't apply a ton of pressure. And, there's a difference. If you have the ball and you dribble towards me and I keep backing up, well, yes, I'm still in front of you, but you're also going wherever you want to go. And so we've got to find that balance again. Last game I thought was our best game of, we dictated where the ball was. We dictated where the offense started. And I thought tonight, that sort of back up and contain mentality kept them off the rim, but it also allowed them to move with a lot of freedom in the half court.
Last game, you talked about Keontae's ball pressure. I thought he had another good night tonight. I mean, just generally, he had a really good game despite everything else that was going on. What's kind of working for him?
I think that Keontae is playing the game with a lot of joy right now. Keontae's a fun-loving kid. You can do both. You can enjoy and you can compete, and I think he's finding that balance. There are certain guys who operate well when they're mad. I think Keontae is somebody who operates at his best when he plays with joy, and I think that lately he's had a really good mindset and approach. He's not hanging on to mistakes for very long. He's communicating really well with his teammates and the coaches. I just think he's in a really good place right now in terms of his emotional disposition. So he's putting in a lot of hard work, and I would agree with you, even though I thought the team had a tough night, and I thought Keontae had a really solid game.
There's Jazz head coach Will Hardy. The Jazz lose to the Kings 141-97. The Jazz have a bunch of days off in a row now. Next game coming your way is Friday night. They'll take on the Phoenix Suns at Delta Center. Tip-off for that game will be at 7:30. Pregame begins at 6:30. Coming up next, more DJ and PK, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
There's the best of the Jazz postgame show. Utah Hockey Club is suddenly a picture of consistency. A 5-2 win in Buffalo. A 4-2 win in Philadelphia. Here's Adrian Denny with the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, your Utah Hockey Club, picked up a big win on Sunday in Philadelphia. 4-2 over the Flyers to finish a perfect 2-0 road trip after beating Buffalo 5-2 on Saturday. Utah now 12-11-4 overall on the season. 5-2-1 in their last 8 games. They'll be home on Tuesday to host the Minnesota Wild. That'll be a 7:30 face-off here inside Delta Center, and we'll have your only local broadcast of the game right here on the KSL Sports Zone, with the game being nationally televised on ESPN+. Well, Sunday it was a scoreless game until Utah took a 1-0 lead 7 minutes and 1 second into the second period. Robert Bortuzzo got the puck to Michael Carcone, who just threw it to the net.
Ristolainen gains the middle red stripe and tried to dump it in. It didn't make it very far. Carcone wants to counter. Michael Carcone centers, and it deflects in. They score! Michael Carcone gets his second of the year.
And in what was a little bit of an early trend of Philadelphia bouncing back, 19 seconds later, they tied it. We were 1-1 for 2 minutes and 22 seconds before Utah got some really good pressure in the Philadelphia zone, and Juuso Välimäki knocked it home off of the stick of Mikhail Sergachev.
Philly cannot get their defenseman off the ice. Sergachev shoots, and they score! Tipped in front, and it's 2-1. Utah back on top, and Juuso Välimäki has his first goal of the season.
That 2-1 lead would last for 3 minutes and 16 seconds before the Flyers tied it up at 2, and then Utah got the lead back. 2 minutes and 16 seconds after that, it was Logan Cooley on the power play.
Utah must hit refresh. Keller right back in with Dylan Gunther. He centers. Cooley drags and scores! Logan Cooley, forehand, backhand, score!
So 3-2 Utah there. They'd lead for the final 4 minutes and 30 seconds of the second period and the first 2 minutes and 21 seconds of the third before the Flyers tied it. But Utah head coach Andre Tourigny challenged that there was goalie interference on the equalizing goal for the Flyers, and the call was overturned, no goal. Utah held the 3-2 lead. Nothing really doing in the third period, just 4 shots past the halfway point for the Flyers, but Utah took a penalty with under 6 minutes left. Philadelphia looking to tie the game up for the third straight time, erase a third straight one-goal Utah lead, but Kevin Stenlund had other ideas shorthanded.
Philadelphia to get set up in the offensive zone. 20 seconds left, and it's given up. Stenlund's in the clear, and he scores! Kevin Stenlund nets a shorthanded goal to extend Utah's lead here in the third period.
That'd be the last goal of the game for Utah. Second straight game that Kevin Stenlund scored the last goal for the Utah Hockey Club. Made it 5-1 in Buffalo Saturday. Makes it 4-2 there. Utah won the game on special teams. They went 1 for 3 on the power play, 2 for 2 on the penalty kill, with 5-on-5 scoring being even at 2. Jackson Stauber in between the pipes, his second straight win for Utah. He stopped 22 of 24 in the contest as Utah gets another big second period, a 3-goal middle frame for the second straight game and the third time in the last 4 games overall. 6th 3-goal period of the year for Utah, 6-0 when they score 3 goals in a period, and now 10-0-3 when they get at least a 2-goal period in a hockey game. So goals are coming for Utah, and they've been stingy defensively. 2 goals or less allowed now in 7 of the last 9. So looking good for the Utah Hockey Club, above 500, within a couple of points of that wild card spot in the Western Conference playoff race, and home on Tuesday. Does it ever get any easier? Not in this league, not in the NHL. First place Minnesota comes in on Tuesday. After the game, we heard from Utah head coach Andre Tourigny.
I know it's a small sample, but we're stringing some things together. How'd this one feel?
I feel really good. I think they have an elite PK. We score a big goal in the power play. They generate as well on their PK, and we did a good job against that. Our PK was really solid, so that's really good. Our goalie did a really good job. I like our game.
How did you feel? We talked a lot about the rush, against the rush, rather.
Yeah.
How'd you feel they fared today?
I think we're pretty good. I think I like the way we play, we defend, leading by 1 starting the third, and we gave up 6 shots, I think, in the third or something like that. So I like the way we defend, and I like the way we play in the O-zone as well. We had good looks. We generate good offense.
What did you see out of the Hayton line tonight?
I think they start rolling, they start clicking. They possess the puck. They're dangerous every time they have the puck in the O-zone. Even on the rush, they start to generate some stuff on the rush. So they're doing pretty good.
To walk away with 4 points, I know it's a short road trip, but 4 points on the road is still 4 points on the road.
Yeah, exactly. I took that stretch at 5 in 8 days. So we have 2 in the bank. So now the next 3 won't be easy, but I think that's a good way to start it.
Who makes the call on the disallowed goal? Did you guys know right away? Or?
It's our video coach. He's pretty good. He doesn't miss much, so it's Hunter did good call on that. You know, the point on that is the video coach review everything around the league. He's aware of what's going on and what's called, what's no call. So I'm not poking my nose in there, and I'll let him make the call. Is pretty good.
Yeah, I feel good for Valimaki. First goal going back to last February.
Yeah, you know, he's playing good for us lately. I think he's making good play, and he's creating movement in the old zone, and that's the way he got there, and you got to stick on that puck. Good for him.
Captain Clayton Keller picked up an assist on that Logan Cooley power play goal, the game winner for the Utah captain and leading scorer. He's up to 24 points in 27 games, and we heard from him after the game too.
It was a huge road trip for us. Two good efforts. I thought we stuck to the game plan. Most of the game, a lot of up and downs tonight, but part of the guys and the way we fought, and they're a good team over there, and they're tough to play against. They're super fast, so I think we did a good job.
We talked a little bit about how challenging this team was against the rush. How do you feel like your group handled that?
Yeah, I think pretty good. I think when there's a super fast team and they get a lot of rushes, if you usually stay above them and try to make them force plays, you're going to get looks the other way, and those are fun games to play in. At least coach might not think so, but I thought we did a good job of that, and like I said, they're a great team, so props to us in the room.
After the first period, how did you guys feel like you adjusted in the second and third, especially to protect the lead?
Yeah, for sure. I think I've said this before, but when we have the leads, we sometimes tend to back up and give them more space, more time. For some reason, we're just scared to make a mistake, and I think we're learning how to still play offense with the lead, and thankfully that goal didn't count, but we were able to reset and kind of go back at him.
And how about Mr. Exclamation Point, Mr. Icing on the Cake, Kevin Stenlund scoring Utah's last goal in a win for the second straight game. Heard from him after the contest too.
All right, well, back-to-back wins. For you, back-to-back goals in these two games. I mean, let's talk about your goal first. Obviously, a shorty. What did you see off that one?
Well, they dropped the puck and then fumble it, and then obviously I got a breakaway, and good goal. We needed that one.
Quick thinking on your part and your team together tonight. Obviously, a lot of fight, a lot of pressure. How did that pressure applied to this opponent help you guys win the game?
I mean, they're a good team over there. They battle hard. I think special teams today were the difference, and we were good there, so just got to keep that going.
And in terms of the third period with that reverse call, maybe credit to the video team for finding that one. Did that add extra motivation in the third to help get two more?
Some motivation, obviously, and obviously big for us to not letting that goal, so we're happy with the win.
To walk away with 4 points off this very short road trip, what does this do going back home?
A lot of confidence, hopefully. Just got to go back home and try to do the same.
Kevin, thanks so much. Congrats.
Thank you.
It was another battle at two of the top 5 youngest teams in the NHL, and Utah picked up the win. Third youngest team is Utah Hockey Club Philadelphia, the 5th youngest team in the NHL. Saturday, they beat the youngest team in the National Hockey League in Buffalo, and less than 2 weeks ago, beat the 2nd youngest team in the NHL in Montreal. Only team in the top 5 youngest teams in the league they haven't played, the Columbus Blue Jackets. So nice win for the Utah Hockey Club, 4-2 over the Flyers. How about this? 7 of their last 8 wins have been by 2 goals or more. They've been pulling away from some pretty good teams. So again, Tuesday at 7:30 with Minnesota here at Delta Center, your only local broadcast. Right here with us on the KSL Sports Zone. You can watch nationally with the folks on ESPN+. DJ and PK will be back Wednesday morning to recap that game with Minnesota and hopefully the 3rd straight win for your Utah Hockey Club.
There's the best of the postgame show. When we come back, David Locke talking Jazz rebuild with PK and I. Stay with us. DJ, PK, and David Locke visiting with us. David, good morning.
It's so weird to wake up, do yoga, and then talk to Patrick Kinahan right afterwards.
Yoga. Yeah, nice. That was this morning?
I'm all zen. I'm all even-keeled. The sun is rising to my right. Namaste.
It's not raining in Portland?
No, it's gorgeous, actually. The sun, truly, actually, right now, my view is so magnificent. The sun is rising over the mountain. It's pretty fabulous.
My view sucks right now.
What does?
No, my view.
Well, it's because you're across from David.
I didn't say that. Don't you come after me, boy.
Literally every single listener figured that out before you two geniuses went to work.
I was on cue, right?
Oh, we used to, when we were at the arena, we had a beautiful view.
We did.
And here we don't. I got to look at you and Christian.
We had
looking at Christian is better than looking at Yuck.
We had $1 million view out the window at Mount Olympus and the sun rising.
And
that was
the
awesome.
team player that I am, I gave you that view. That was to my back.
Thank you.
All those years.
Although you did spin around and enjoy it during breaks. Now they built the two big hotels over there, and so
nobody cares. But when I was in Seattle, our studio was on Elliott Avenue, which is on Elliott Bay, and you from one direction could see Mount Rainier if it was ever out, and the other behind you had the Cascades. It was worth going to work.
Nice. David, there is a story out, which PK and I thought falls basically into dog bites man category. According to ESPN, the Jazz are open to trading veterans Colin Sexton, John Collins, and Jordan Clarkson. I thought at this point in the rebuild, if the deal is right, Danny Ainge would be open to trading anybody. Now, Lowry Markkanen by rule can't be traded until next summer, so there's that one caveat, I suppose, but I see the story and I shrug and I think, well, yeah. And I think everybody in the NBA already knew it. Are we missing something?
No. Yeah, I thought it was interesting playing the Thunder the other day. They only have 3 players left in their first year of their rebuild. The whole roster. And 2 of them are Kendrick Williams and Lou Dort. So, Lou Dort's good, but they were undrafted, basically energy foundation culture pieces, right. And then Shea obviously is the third one.
Right.
So I would expect over the next 3 or 4 years as we move forward in this process that there's pretty significant roster turnover, and guys who you thought were going to be major pieces of the puzzle turn out to not be major pieces of the puzzle.
Are there, outside of Markkanen and maybe Kessler, are there major pieces to the puzzle right now on the roster, do you think?
Don't know yet.
That's the only answer you can come up with.
Know, what do you classify Walker as when you say major?
Well, I think he has a major skill set that really can help your team. I don't think he's a major player, but I think what he can provide you is something that is valuable, what he's capable of doing.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. I think he's a 22-minute-a-night center who on some nights can be 30. That's really good.
Right.
And depending on what his salary is, lots of teams can use a big guy, long arms, moves decently well, will work to challenge shots and will work to go get rebounds and will finish his layups and dunks.
And seems like he's got a decent set of hands, so you throw it to him at the rim, it's probably going to be caught.
Yeah, I think he's had a great year and has improved both offensively and defensively. And, the question is, you have to pay him what Mitchell Robinson got, which is 14, or you have to pay him 20, which somebody else got. You have to pay him here pretty soon. But Mitchell Robinson and Robert Williams, who I think are good comps for him, both got 13 or 14, but I'm going to suspect he wants 20 or 25.
And the cap's going up, so whatever they got then, he'll get more.
Yeah,
with the cap going up. Yeah, that's.
I think he's similar to Zubac, maybe in a lot of ways, and Zubac is at 18, 19, and 20 going forward.
We were over at Media Day, and they brought players through, and we talked to multiple guys. And I still remember when Walker sat down, and you're going into your third year, and he starts nodding. I said, and in the history of the NBA, the third year is pretty pivotal for a lot of guys' careers. If you're going to make it, you're showing something year 3 or they move. And he's just nodding, thinking, okay, he's probably had this talk with Ainge, with Jay-Z, with Will Hardy, with 2 or 3 vets, with 3 or 4 assistant coaches. He's just nodding. And he's not. He perked up a little bit, but I thought, he's just surprised we've heard it. He didn't expect it from us, too. But nothing else got him. Do you think as far as year 3 goes, the way he's viewed here and around the league, he's checking the boxes he needs to in year 3, telling people he's an NBA guy?
Yeah, I think he's been really good this year. So I think there was a little lunacy around him when he started playing well as a rookie of what people thought he was going to be. And like when you're comparing him to probably one of the 3 greatest defensive players of all time, that's probably going to be a mistake. But he's played really, really well. He's much physically stronger. He holds his ground better. He's finishing around the rim, I think, better. He's been a bright spot this season, and I would agree where PK started. If the story of our season, as presented by Justin and Danny and Ryan in that opening presser, was, an opportunity to develop and learn about the 7 young players, I would say one of the 7 so far has vaulted themselves forward into a position where you're pretty comfortable that they're an NBA player, an NBA rotation player, and that I would say that, and that's Walker, and so he's so far. Now it's interesting, he's also the oldest, right? Like, he's the most mature of the 7, and he's the one making the jump.
Yeah, for sure. I get you what you're saying there. Hendricks had his press availability the other day. Obviously, it sucks that he gets injured and can't play this season. I'm wondering what you think in terms of his not necessarily long-term, but longer-term progression. How much of a blow is it that, and certainly it's significant right now, but I'm wondering if you think that once he comes back, and by all accounts, we heard he really took to working out, strengthening his body, so it seems like he's got that work ethic that's okay over here. So I'm wondering, how quickly can he make up what he's lost, what he's going to lose this year?
I don't have any idea, and I don't want to be a pessimist, but it feels like it's really long, doesn't it? All right, so doesn't it feel like maybe, you can do 2 things at the same time? They're not mutually exclusive. But it still seems to me that, and no timetable was given in that press conference, but let's assume he can be back on the court near opening day next year.
Right.
Then isn't it really a year of just trying to recover from the injury? Or at least 6 to 8 months of that?
Well, certainly 6 to 8 months, yeah. That's I'm wondering, can he get back? Can he have any form of summer of progression? And
I would
then,
doubt it.
Okay. So, and I'm not necessarily looking towards next year. I'm talking about year 2 or 3. Well, do you think he would still be behind, or will he have caught up?
That's my point. Is I think he was still really far away. Right. So let's be clear on that. Like, just understanding the game. He was developing, as he kind of said in the press conference, he was beginning to feel like he was making strides. I think he meant that as much as understanding the game as he did, meaning like skill wise. He's still just so short on skills. Excuse me. It's really complicated, PK, because my instinct is to put them in boxes, but there's a Venn diagram aspect to it where 2 things can be happening at once, right? He can be getting a better understanding and improving his skills while he's recovering from the injury in the next year. But I do think that there's some level where you can't evaluate him as a player in the 25-26 season really at all. And so you're not really going to be able to evaluate him until March of 27.
Which probably wasn't going to be the case anyway, though. Maybe 26, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so maybe it just pushes you back a year. But you also, by the way, have to pay him by then.
That was what I was gonna bring up. Under the whole Walker Kessler conversation, which applies to the whole league. Walker's just the most recent example. Your 3rd year is your big year. Well, now you can make an argument for Hendricks. The 4th year becomes the 3rd year, except depending on how much the rehab goes into next season and what his conditioning is and how many minutes they let him play and all that kind of stuff. Man, maybe year 4 is going to feel like year 2 to him. And then you're into we got to extend the contract. What do you offer him? Blah, blah, blah. It's all jacked up.
If that's the case, who else is going to offer him?
There's that, right? Will someone else do it on speculation because they liked him and they think they can get a steal, or everyone else shies away? How many minutes is he playing? That goes back to what David just said earlier about his, I don't know. It's too early to tell. I mean, this could go a lot of different ways with Taylor.
Right. I just don't know that it necessarily has to be a blow to his longer-term progression.
Oh.
I think
you're right.
It's a blow. There's just no telling
It's a blow right now.
There's no telling how big
but
a blow it is.
can you make it up down the line is what I'm saying.
All you can say is possibly.
Right. I realize that I just wanted his opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a blow. It's not a death sentence. It's a massively important year that he just lost, and maybe 2 massively important years he lost.
Right, and if you start getting that way, then then that's significant.
And honestly, the other thing is he was probably our most tradable asset. Like if you were going to try to, if some franchise out there is turning the corner and going to go down, and you're going to pick up one of their pieces along the way so you can go up, they're going to want something that you have that they think has a chance to be really good down the road. That was the piece.
His size, his age, his size and athletic ability, his age, how raw he is. Yeah, I can see where.
Yeah, but how about somebody who is close to being a contender and needs a protector up front, and so Kessler.
Right. That's a possibility. Yeah. That he certainly teams of that ilk are thinking about it. New York, Phoenix, others. Phoenix can't make any trades, but I mean, Phoenix basically has no center right now, but they still are, because they're on the second apron and they can't aggregate any deals. It's almost impossible for Phoenix to make a deal.
Right.
They are who we thought they were because they can't change the roster.
Yeah, right. I like them, though. I mean, they can't keep their guys on the floor, but if they have their guys on the floor in April, I wouldn't want to play them.
Yeah, that's the key for them.
I know you don't have time to watch a lot of games, but I didn't know if you had on a flight have time to watch tape of college games.
Try to watch the final 9 minutes of every close game.
Right, in the NBA, but I didn't know if you were watching any of the prospective draft picks.
Oh, I haven't watched not a
thing. Okay.
That's where I come in, boy.
That a kid.
I've been watching Rutgers, and I've been watching BYU.
There's a phrase you haven't said out loud very often. I've been watching Rutgers.
I had Rutgers posters on my wall growing up.
You might have, actually.
I didn't.
What's the BYU kid like?
I think he's a player, man. He sucked the other night. I thought he looked tentative in his shooting. He was 0 of 9, 0 for 10 or whatever. It was a road game at Providence. But
their first road game.
Scouts are flocking to watch him play. To me, you're looking for somebody who can initiate an offense. He's 6'9". He can see over people. He's more than a willing passer. I think he's a pass-first kind of guy. I think he'd be great here. Not next year. He's a teenager, but I would love to have him in a Jazz uniform.
I think
if you're trying to build a franchise that has a top 50, a top 20, and a top 10 player in the NBA, what is he?
Well, it depends on how well he ends up shooting, because shooting is so important. And that was the question mark coming in, and he just pulled off an 0 for 9 or 0 for 10, whatever it was, in his first true college road game. So shooting's still the question. He moves really fluidly with the ball in his hands. I mean, he was probably dribbling a basketball when he was 18 months old.
He had a dunk the other day at the rim, obviously, with his left hand, his offhand.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was his dominant hand. And, I've known Travis Hansen for many, many years, and I really trust his assessment of basketball players. And he's largely responsible because of his connection to Russia, getting this kid over here. And I read a story in the D News. He has dinner with him every Sunday, blah, blah, blah. And Travis, and we both, DJ and I both really trust Travis in his evaluations, and he thinks he's a big-time player.
Tyrese Halliburton?
Man,
athlete?
Every time
I'm not willing to go there just yet.
Every time you throw a comp out, though, the whole question has to be asked, how well is he going to shoot it?
Right.
That's so important.
College shooters. Like Tyrese Halliburton shot 40% from 3 in college.
I think he'll be fine.
if he can shoot it from the perimeter, the sky's the limit. The problem is if that's the one thing you can't do, oops, that's pretty limiting. If he can do it, then
he'll be good enough
to go.
He'll be good enough as a shooter. And then I watched Harper's son, Dylan, the other day. I watched the whole game. I'm excited about him. And Cooper Flagg's I've already seen him play 10 times. I've seen him play 4 times this year, and then he was always on TV with the high school stuff at IMG. And so, to me, he's an absolute no-brainer. He's only 17 years old. Flagg doesn't turn 18 until 2 weeks.
And mostly it's home games at this point of the year, and the teams are completely overmatched. But they went and played a couple of neutral court games. They didn't look good in the first one, and I didn't think he looked particularly good. And I thought he looked much better in the second game, and the team looked much better in the second game. They've only had one road game, so it was a disaster, but they haven't done it before, and they got a bunch of young guys, so learn from it and improve. If the improvement from the first road game to the second game is as much as it was, on neutral court games, and then they'll be fine. The last image was pretty ugly. But
I would sell my soul to get Cooper Flagg on the team.
your soul.
Yeah. I think he's going to be a superstar. Because
he's going to be pretty good.
If I'm wrong, it'll be long gone. Nobody will remember what I said, and nobody will be in touch with me. So. Just a 17-year-old. I can see why the Jazz are doing what they're doing this year. Of all years, I can see why they're doing it this year. And they've got to continue to lose, man. Too much is at stake to win.
Well, and next year.
Okay, well, I haven't thought about next year, but yeah, fine.
I have heard that the 26th draft is going to be as good as 25. But, you can also talk to NBA people that roll their eyes because they say you never really know.
I take one loss at a time. So I'm only thinking this year.
Yeah, good work.
And Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, Joel Embiid.
Right. They can go down the list.
Smart,
yep.
Was supposed, Aaron Gordon was Dante Exum was supposed to be like the greatest draft ever.
And how'd that work out?
Didn't. Joel Embiid's the best of the group.
Yeah.
He's pretty dang good, but Andrew Wiggins has been regular. Aaron Gordon's been regular. Dante Exum didn't make it. He's in the league, but didn't make it.
Yeah, he's a role guy.
Nick Stauskas didn't make it. Jabari Parker didn't make it.
But the hype for these classes is real, and somebody in this generation is going to dominate. So,
I'm perfectly aware of who that is already.
Who's that?
He's in San Antonio. It's incredible. They played the other night, and they used him late game. It's interesting. They played late game the other night and used Victor in every which way that you'd hope they would finally use him. It was the first time they'd ever done it. Like, put him mid-block left against Sacramento, ran him with some pick and roll, had him doing some off. It was beautiful. Mitch Johnson was doing an incredible job. And it was finally the first time, you'd oh, this is how you're supposed to use him. We've all been watching it. When are you going to put him at the elbow and let him make a play? When are we doing it? And it felt like this incredible win for them. They went into Sacramento and won. And then since then, they've been really terrible. So I don't know.
Well, he's been out, and he also just missed a game with a bad back.
Did he miss their last game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he just sat out. Curry's out. Durant's out. The epidemic continues.
Well, we're making our guys move a lot more than we ever used to in the past generations of the game, and so there's just a tremendous amount more. We're playing an extra 10 or 12 possessions per game, and we're covering way more ground than we ever used to defensively in the way we're playing defense. So it's having an impact.
Athletes have reached their limit. This is it. From baseball pitchers who are asked to throw more breaking stuff harder to basketball players who are doing more running and cutting. Maxing them out.
Feels like it, doesn't it? I think it feels like feels like you're heading down a valid thesis statement.
Yeah. David, we'll leave it right there. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. #Utah Jazz.
Bryce, one of the Jazz best three-point shooters, comes off a pick from Kessler, gives to Lowry, hard drive to the rack, powers through Sabonis and finishes for 2. And we're tied at 13. John Collins, catch, shoot, fires the 3, and John Collins is 4 of 6 from 3 tonight. He came in shooting 41%. Fox rebounds, outlet, Herter at the rim, dunked it. They rotate around the cylinder. It's McDermott for 3, got it.
An 86-point swing, you don't see that every day, PK. Friday night, the Jazz bludgeon the Blazers 141-99, and then they turn around and get scorched in Sacramento 141-97. Odd, from a 42-point win to a 46-point loss. But you don't want them winning too often, as you just told David Locke in the last segment, so they didn't win too often. They won once. They still don't have back-to-back wins this year.
Oh, thank whoever it is you want to thank.
Right.
They literally can't afford it. This is no joke. I mean, if they blow this
by winning,
this could be devastating. I mean, we won't know for years, but if Flag blows up, which I think he will, if Ron Harper's son blows up, you want one of those dudes.
You want to know you did everything you could to get one of those players.
And you know, ironically, Bryce Harper, his father's name Ron.
Crazy.
Yeah. So we got 2 Ron Harpers out there.
I bet we have more than that.
2 that, oh yeah, there's probably like 6 or 7.
6 or 7. I bet there's one in Alaska.
This team needs that. You know, they just literally need this. So, yeah, this sucks to get beat by 44 points, I think you said it was. Okay, but the most important thing is they got beat. I guess you'd want it a little more competitive. What was going on with the defense? I mean, this Sacramento was out of their mind, shooting 57%. 50. You shoot 50% from the 3 in the NBA, you will win 90% of your games, I would say, because it's not like 4 for 8. It's not the old days. Everybody takes 30 to 40 plus, depending on how the game's going, amount of threes these days. So if you shoot 50%, you're going to score 50 points, maybe 60 points on threes, because they take so many. I mean, how does Doug McDermott play 8 minutes and score 18 points? He's a shooter. He's always been a shooter. I get it.
He's not running 94 feet, PK. He's running from one three-point line to the other.
18 points in 8 minutes, 6 of 7, all from the 3.
He's got to defend at one three-point line. He runs the other one. I guess he could get to 94 if he's a corner 3 guy. I'd have to look and see about that, but yeah.
6 of 7. There'll never be a more efficient versus minutes play in the history of the NBA.
Points versus minutes, baby.
And the efficiency of 6 for 7.
Yeah. He played 8 minutes. He got up 7 threes. He hit 6 of them. That's awesome.
That's incredible. That's a freaky line right there.
More than a point every 30 seconds.
I know.
DJ and PK, a reminder, the Jazz only play one time this week. Friday, Suns at home. I attribute this to NBA Cup scheduling, I think, but I don't really want to hurt my brain thinking about it too much.
Because they didn't know if they had games. I think it's a direct correlation.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
What a weekend in the NBA. The Wizards won a game. I suppose that's good in the race to the bottom. They beat Denver Saturday, and then they lost Sunday. So like the Jazz, they split. Grizzlies beat them 140-112. A lot of teams around the Jazz picking up wins. The 76ers, who shouldn't be in this mix, pick up win number 7. They beat the Bulls 108-100. So now the Wizards in the race for Cooper Flag, a.k.a. Capture the Flag. The Wizards have 3 wins. The Jazz and the Pelicans have 5. Philly, Charlotte, Toronto, all on 7. Pull away, you 3. Pull away.
I think it's gag for Flag.
Gag for Flag.
I'm glad you're here, though.
Why?
Man, I can't get in the NBA right now.
I hear you. Hornets won, too, so they got to 7 wins. So let those teams win, baby. Let them win. Chris Paul passed Jason Kidd for second all-time on the assist list, 12,091. But he still needs a couple thousand more to even get within shouting distance of John Stockton.
And I would still take Magic and LeBron over.
There you go. Spurs beat the Pelicans 121-116. All right, PK, let's get to some football, shall we?
#NFL.
Third and 8. Minnesota 6 of 11 on third down. Sam under a lot of pressure. How'd you get away from that? Now he throws deep. Justin wide open. Caught. Touchdown! Justin Jefferson with a 48-yard reception.
Stafford under center. Kyron is a single back. Jogging in slow motion. Nacua now back left side. He takes the handoff. He's got blocks. He walks in. Touchdown Puka Nacua. Touchdown Rams.
Puka, for him to come up the way that he did, ultimately to be able to cap that drive off that put us up 9 points. Love to be able to get the extra point there, but he was awesome. And he's so physically and mentally tough. Love him. He's such a, igniter is one of the biggest compliments I can give somebody. You elevate everybody around you. You bring an energy to this football team, and he certainly did that today.
I mean, I've started 1 year, so I'm a part of it for 1 year.
Highlights from around the NFL. Puka Nacua out of Orem High, BYU, putting on an incredible show. Had Tom Brady up there screaming, "That's insane!" with a toe-tapping catch on the sideline. 12 catches, 162 yards. The touchdown that iced the game in a 44-42 win over the Bills. He ran for a score, 5 carries for 16 yards. What can't Puka Nacua do?
It's the reason why when he was a senior, I said that he was the best player in the state.
And then he got hurt and didn't have the massive year he could have, although he still made a signature play in the win over Boise State and had some other cool games. I guess that's the only thing in the NFL. Stay healthy, right? Because if you're healthy...
High school, college, Little League.
If you're healthy, Puka Nacua,
senior tour?
You are going to do the senior tour. You are going to do awesome stuff. He's played 8 games this year. He played all 17 last year. Put up massive numbers. So the Rams are a game back in the division race with 4 to go, a game behind Seattle, who beat the Cardinals 30-18. And they're a game behind Washington in the wild card race. There's still hope. A couple teams they could reel in and get to the playoffs. The best teams with some wild storylines, the Chiefs, the 2-time champs, trying to three-peat, win the division for the 9th straight year by banking the field goal to win the game off the upright as time expires. Can we get more outrageous? 1 second left, stop the clock, looked like a chip shot field goal, doink. I love it when they play it back with no announcer sound. You can just hear that thing rattling. That is the 6th game this year they've won on the final play. They shouldn't be able to do this, and yet here they are, doing it again.
I'd be a little nervous if the law of numbers pays...
right?
What would be just pays them back in a sense, I guess, in the postseason. But we'll see. And they still got a few more games, although I don't know how many of these games matter for them because it's all about the postseason.
Well, with that Bills loss, that's good for them because they don't have the tiebreaker with the Bills. They got a 2-game lead, so they can drop one now because they've got that 2-game cushion over the Bills and Steelers. So if they win 3 of the last 4, they're playing all their home games. And I think that still Mahomes has played 1 road game in the playoffs ever. They always have home field.
I just don't think that matters.
Yeah. Over in one more AFC game. The Steelers beat the Browns. They reached 10 wins. It was kind of a ho-hum game. They dominated, but they are at 10-3 with the Bills, and they're 2 games up on the Ravens now with 4 to go in the AFC North. In the NFC, the Vikings keep winning. 42-21, they beat the Atlanta Falcons. Sam Darnold throws 5 touchdown passes, and they end up beating the Rams and their former quarterback who took off for big money. But, hey, plug in Darnold and just keep going in a 42-21 win over the Falcons. And then I guess the crowd gave a big round of applause to Cousins as he walked off the field, whatever. Thanks for coming. But we got another quarterback, and we keep rolling. Everybody's talking about the Lions, but the Vikings, they're sitting there lurking. Saquon Barkley 1,623 yards rushing. The record is 2,100 yards, so he's got 4 games left. Of course, he's breaking a 16-game record with 17 games, but impressive nonetheless as the Eagles beat the Panthers 22-16. They just keep winning as well.
Can a running back be MVP in a pass-happy league?
Well, you think the answer is no until you watch Saquon Barkley pile up another 100-yard game.
He had the most amazing athletic move I've ever seen in my life.
Running, jumping backwards, and making the guy miss.
Hurdling a guy when you're full butt and back
are facing the goal line.
Yes. And you ever see the play where it's from the sideline view and the players on Philly just go nuts?
Just go nuts. Like, what?
It was an unbelievable athletic move. I've never seen anything like it. Incredible how strong that man's core has got to be able to do that. And he did it. And it wasn't a running. It was just like, I'm going there, turn around, leap over him backwards. Stunning. It ought to be an Olympic event. Leaping over barrels with your back to it.
I guess the answer to the question is yes, realistically, I can see it happening. Could he still come in second in the balloting, depending on how the final month of the season goes? I suppose that's true.
Do they have one for the league or the conferences? They have 2.
Oh, they have an NFL MVP.
There's only one?
Yeah.
So no, it's not like baseball.
I think they do the offensive conference player of the year, the defensive conference player of the year, so there's multiple awards out there. But NFL MVP for everything, yes, there's one. You ready for a little Monday Night Football? Bengals and
What
Cowboys.
day is it?
Bengals and Cowboys, 2 teams going nowhere. If you're ever going to ignore Monday Night Football, this will be the week.
To see what else is on.
DJ and PK.
#BYU.
I'm really excited about the matchup that we have against Colorado and Coach Prime. I've known Dion and been able to interact with him, and I'm a big fan of his. It's been fun to be able to watch him and him lead his team this year, and we've been really impressed with what they do on the field. I love the way he leads his team. I love their connection to him. It's a great example to me as a coach to see the way he leads and the way he does it with his faith in Christ and in God. And so we're really excited about this matchup, and we thank you for inviting us to the bowl game, and we're looking forward to the week, the festivities, and obviously the food. Go Cougs. Appreciate it.
Kalani Sitake gets a long-term contract extension, and BYU gets a bowl game as expected against Colorado in the Alamo Bowl.
That makes so sense.
It does make so sense. It's almost 3 weeks away, but circle it. Saturday, December 28th.
Yeah, I think that's a great game for them to be able to have an opportunity to play a marquee team where eyeballs will be there. And see what you got. I mean, they're not unbeatable. I know some BYU fans are nervous about that one, but you get to play a ranked team. You know, these other bowls now, they don't mean as much, and they haven't mean as much, and now they mean less. But
those 12 teams are in the playoffs instead of 4.
Right. Now you have one of the better matchups, and that's good for you, and your coach is locked up, and you're locked up. Everybody's locked up. Lock him up.
It's college football. Nobody's locked up.
Well, you'd be locked up money-wise.
Money-wise, yeah, there it is. There's the money.
Yeah. And we saw Bronco's salary was going to be in the 2s and Logan. So, hey, he better not be making less than the Utah State coach. That's a fact.
No, it is a fact. You're right. The Power 4 coaches all need to be paid more than the G5 coaches. That should be a fact
and
across the board.
10 ball games.
A lot of people reacting to that long-term extension. We'll get to that coming up. Go to our Facebook page, DJ and PK. Go to Twitter, David DJ James. Pick up your phone. Use the app. You can record your own voice and hear it on the radio. Christian will get it on the air. Send it to us. DJ and PK.
#Utah.
The Utes announcing Kyle Whittingham will return. Started out with a social media post that said, "I'm back."
Is he freaking Michael Jordan?
I know, right? And I think that came up, and it got changed a little while later to, "We are back."
No, I like later.
Later.
That's got some street cred.
We are back in 2025. So, You know who's not back? The quarterbacks. Isaac Wilson, Brandon Rose, Sam Heward announced they will be entering the transfer portal. You see a trend there. That is not a fluke, a coincidence, an individual decision that three players separately reached at the same time.
I think if you look at Jason Beck's history, they like running quarterbacks. He likes running quarterbacks. And so I think these three were laid out the facts for them and basically figured out you're not a good fit here. And I 100% believe, because I've been told it, that they'll get the quarterback from New Mexico who is a running quarterback and is a very good running quarterback.
Devin Dampier.
Yes. And the portal opens today. So he's got tons of athletic abilities. A little on the shorter side, so I don't know that he's a pro guy. But as far as quarterback goes anyway, I don't even think he's 6 feet.
No, he's listed at 5'9" or 5'10".
Yeah.
He's well under. They're not even trying to fudge it to get him. I'll be interested to stand next to him and see if that's fudged and if he's really smaller than that.
Probably not. You're not going to get too much smaller.
You wouldn't
than
think. You wouldn't think.
So obviously Jason Beck had a ton of success offensively with him over there in Albuquerque this year. So these individuals here, they saw what the situation is, and we'll see where they land. They'll land somewhere. I mean, Isaac Wilson
was highly recruited.
Exactly.
Heavily. And big time schools.
It's been a year. Yeah. Now things change in a year, so it's not.
Well, ASU was one team that recruited him.
And Dillingham talking about playing chess with him, remember?
Right, yeah. And now ASU looks like they're set at quarterback. So things change in a year, right?
Right.
Exactly. But Miami wanted him. Oregon wanted him.
Yeah.
So you get it. It's literally coast to coast. There's a bunch of
BYU wanted him.
BYU, not just a bunch of Power 4 schools, but high-end schools.
And BYU's had conversations with him. I know that with his dad, Mike.
The point is he should have options.
He will.
What does he want to do?
He will. Yeah, he will. Yeah, for sure. Going forward here. And right now, so I assume they'll get Dampier, and then they'll have these incoming freshmen, and maybe they can get another transfer. We'll see.
Utah basketball lost to St. Mary's 72-63. They were down 17 at halftime. They rallied. They got within 2 on a Caleb Lohner bucket, the former tight end, the former Baylor and BYU player, but they couldn't finish the deal, and St. Mary's wins.
Well, BYU or Utah's no bowl is potentially going to benefit the basketball team.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Utah State.
Double team, and the pass stolen away, intended for Bird. Alberry all by himself, and throws down the two-handed hammer. That's what we call a pick six. Akano, alley-oop to Martinez. Oh, it was high. It doesn't matter. Martinez climbs that big boy ladder and throws down the two-handed dunk. Dallin Grant, the former Aggie, gets to the three-point line before having to give it up, and his pass stolen away. Carson Templin, showtime. Two-handed dunk in transition. Looks to the Aggie bench. Aggies up 84-57. Their largest lead of 27. Aggies on a 9-0 run over the last 45 seconds. Templin goes to the herd, says, "Let me hear from you."
Utah State improves to 9-0 in the year by blowing out Utah Tech 92-62. They get the 30-point win. They've never been 10-0. They can be 10-0 if they beat South Florida next Saturday. That's their next game. Utah Tech falls to 2-9. That was expected. Over on the football side, Bronco Mendenhall has an offensive coordinator, Kevin McGibbon, who'd been at San Jose State. He was also a wide receiver coach and passing game coordinator for the USC Trojans.
Well, he's a local guy. Went to Mountain View there and got hooked up with Gary Croton of Louisiana Tech, and then went back. I think it was like a grad assistant for Croton 20-some years ago at BYU, and then he's gone through, coached at SUU, Weber State, Utah State before, Memphis, Montana State, back to Utah State, Oregon State, San Jose. Now he's back to here, so guy's been around. He's a coaching lifer.
San Jose State, 7-5, best record in the state of California, 5th in the country with 325 yards passing a game. So we'll see how much they're airing it out in Logan next year. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
Conference championship games. We had the upset. Clemson beat LSU as time ran out with a 56-yard field goal. Excuse me, SMU. Wrong initials. Clemson beat SMU. And SMU gets in anyway. They get the large bid. Alabama is left out. The SEC isn't happy about that. Bama
Paul
isn't happy about
Feinbaum
that.
is going to go off today.
Well, they got it wrong. He had all his reasons. I thought the reason he said that made a lot of sense. Some of it was just SEC stuff. But how much do they value conference championship games?
Paul already go off?
Devalue them? Oh, yeah. They had. I saw the clip on social media. I assume he was on a college football show.
I missed it.
On the mothership yesterday. Don't devalue the championship games. If you can go 11-1 and lose and get knocked out, then people are going to avoid them and their money makers.
You can argue whether they should have been in, but not at the expense of a 56-yard field goal as time goes out.
Right.
That
in a conference title game.
You can't say, well, that's the reason they're out.
That was on his list of 4 things. That was one of them.
I missed old Paul.
Well, I'm sure there'll be more of them today. You're right about that. ASU, the Big 12 champ, gets the first round bye because Clemson wins and gets the automatic bid from the ACC with 3 losses. So they'll have to play in the first round. ASU will be the 4 seed, Boise the 3. Georgia the 2 and undefeated. Oregon is the 1. And they all sit around and wait for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and bowl games in the quarterfinals. We'll have opening round games on the 20th and the 21st.
Boise got about as much respect as you can get because, a lot of folks are upset that the Devils didn't get to stay in the Fiesta Bowl, me included, because there was a chance that I was going to go, a very good chance. But I'm not going to Atlanta.
They're going to the Peach Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And Boise's getting the Fiesta.
Ultimately, I don't know that it matters. You got to win the game on the field anyway. But the point being, Boise did not look all that good beating UNLV. You did not score in the second half, I don't think.
They did not.
And on their home field.
They were up 21-0, and they won 21-7.
Against a coach who had his one foot out the door. That was obvious. That was obvious at midseason.
I remember you joking about it.
Yeah. And so, Boise, now's your big time, man. This is a lot riding on these G5s because if they get smoked, and you can say every year's a new year, but I don't buy that because you can't take out what are in people's minds. I say that every year with the NCAA tournament. If you have Gonzaga has respect, they've gone to the Final Four a couple times, I think, and so they always get the benefit of the doubt because they've proven it, and it doesn't matter necessarily what happened that year. Well, now for these lower level schools or perceived lower level, Boise's going to have to carry the flag for them.
SMU is at Penn State, and the winner will go to the Fiesta Bowl to play the Broncos. You think the Rose Bowl's pretty happy? If Ohio State beats Tennessee, they get Ohio State and Oregon. It'll feel like a Pac-12 Big Ten game. It'll be two Big Ten teams, a Big 18, but nonetheless.
Yeah, that's a tough draw for Oregon there, but what are you going to do?
Yeah. Your Devils are waiting on either the 5-seed Texas or 12-seeded Clemson.
The seeds don't really do anything for me.
You intrigued by a matchup with either of those teams?
Oh, of course.
Texas a heavy favorite, 11 points.
But it's not like, they're a 3-4 seed playing a 12 seed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like college hoop. How is Texas a 12 seed? I mean, you gotta figure it out somehow. So the seeding, I think, is basically irrelevant. It's who you're playing and how you're playing when you play them.
Georgia's waiting for the winner of the Indiana-Notre Dame game.
They're all great games.
Yep.
I'm going to look forward to watching all of them.
And even though the Big 12's behind the Mountain West, you think the commissioner's calming down a little bit because they got to bye, and that's what people will ultimately remember? Whether you won your quarterfinal or not, they're not out there on the road.
You're talking about your mark?
Yeah.
I think you're sort of nitpicking that you got 4 rather than 3. Yeah, you can complain about it because that's what we do as people, but what's the difference?
And it would have been, so close to home, right across town.
And that would have been fun.
Right. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
Around behind for Logan Cooley. He flags it down far side. Philly cannot get their defenseman off the ice. Sergachev shoots, and they score! Tipped in front, and it's 2-1. Utah back on top, and Juuso Välimäki has his first goal of the season. That comes all the way back out to neutral ice, and Utah must hit refresh. Keller right back in with Dylan Gunther. He centers. Cooley drags and scores! Logan Cooley, forehand, backhand, score! Utah back on top with 4:30 to go in the second period.
Good weekend for the Utah Hockey Club. Road Warriors all of a sudden 5-2 win in Buffalo Saturday, a 4-2 win in Philadelphia Sunday. They did trail early in the Buffalo game, but they took control of that in the second period and led wire to wire. Philly came back to tie it a couple times but never got the lead, so PK, a winning record now. Over 500. Road Warriors feeling good.
Yeah, these two teams they played were in the top 5 of youngest. I think Utah is 3. So they took advantage of it, and I mean, there's some stat out there. I think when they have a 2-goal lead in the second period or something, they're like 10-0-1. So obviously, score goals.
Slam the door on those guys. Next up, the Minnesota Wild, the division leaders. Winnipeg got off to that awesome start and the 15 wins and all that, but they've cooled off, and the Minnesota Wild have caught them at the top of the division. They're both on 40 points, and Minnesota will be in town tomorrow night, and we'll see if a team that's getting pretty good on the road can end up getting pretty good at home. Right now, they've been mediocre at home. See if that changes. What is trending? Brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Steve Cleveland joining us to talk hoops at 8 o'clock this morning. Riley Jensen will be by at 9 o'clock to talk football, quarterbacks on the move, coaches returning, getting extensions, and, of course, the matchups for the playoff games. We'll talk with Riley at 9 o'clock. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. The question of the day is next.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
G-Bangs! G-Bangs!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The guys you know and trust, talking about the teams you can't live without. This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it is time now for Hot Takes or Toast. Brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. So much news, so many topics over the weekend, PK. I don't see how we're going to get through all the topics you put up on Facebook. I mean, I'll generate a lot of response. I don't see how we're going to get through them all in one show. But let's go right here with Ute Fans. How pumped are you that Kyle Whittingham is returning?
Oh.
Year 21.
I thought we were going to talk about how great Camp Scattaboo is, but nevertheless.
You could just say that at the start of every segment this morning.
Yeah, from now on, sometimes you introduce me as Pat Kinahan. I want to be known as Scat.
Scat. PK, a.k.a. Scat.
I'm Scat Kinahan now. Yeah, go ahead. We didn't even get to Juan Soto either. $5 trillion.
He did not get $5 trillion.
That's the next contract.
15 years. Okay. Blair, pumped may be too strong. Let's go with pleased. I am pleased that Kyle is returning. Steve is a little more than pleased. Pumped! Exclamation point. We are lucky to have him.
Lucky to have him. All right.
Yeah. Wyatt, it's a great day. Brooks.
Great day to be a Ute?
It will be good. He doesn't say that. He went right to the brink. He just said it's a great day. Aaron says, hard to let go, I'm sure, ... I don't blame him, comma, but...
Blame him? ...
for coming back.
Why would you assign blame?
Aaron's worried that it might end poorly, I guess.
Doesn't really matter.
Joey, get behind him and get the HE double toothpicks out of the way, you fair-weather fans. He's not here for any lukewarm endorsements of Kyle. Get behind him.
I think that, there's a line of thinking that you're reloading, so why not start fresh? I had a season ticket holder express that to me. Let's go with Scally now because now's the time. You're
new OC, new quarterback.
Yeah, you're starting over. Offensively, it's dramatic makeover, one that for a program that has had so much consistency that you just don't you hardly ever see. You rarely see it, and we're going to see it. There's obviously a situation here where Jason Beck's going to come in. I believe he's going to bring the New Mexico kid with him. All the scholarship quarterbacks are gone. Cam Rising's still out there, but I just don't see it.
If they want mobile quarterbacks, why would you bring back Cam Rising? That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
If you're right, and did you figure that out, or you were told, or you figured it out and then you inquired and you were told? I don't know the order of all of that. But in the last segment, we were talking about three guys. And there's some more mobile than others, but they're basically three pro-style pocket quarterbacks.
Yeah, I just made a little inquiry. What's up?
Yeah.
Nothing outrageous. And I saw the kid, Dampier, as a Phoenix kid. I saw him play. And he runs around really, really well. His stats back it up. One of three quarterbacks in Division I to throw for over 2,000 and run for over 1,000. So, obviously, you've got his coordinator coming in here, and then it doesn't take a genius to figure out when you got three quarterbacks who put their name in the portal right at the start that he's probably going to go and bring this kid in. The kid made his announcement that he was going in. The thing opens up officially today. So that's an easy connected dots thing there. So there was some line of thinking that let Scally start fresh. But, as the thing went on, it became apparent that Kyle wanted to return this year, or there would have been an announcement that he was leaving last week because the
arguably on the
opened
weekend.
Up. Yeah.
He didn't want a lot of hubbub, so a release on the weekend, no availability, while a lot of other
9
games are
o'clock
going
on
on.
a Saturday night. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, that's what BYU did.
That would have been.
So you got that out there, and okay, fine, he's coming back. So be it. It really didn't make any difference to me what the charge is for the team is rebound and have a better season. And they're going to have to rebuild through the transfer portal. Kyle talked about that. They've got some recruits coming in, but, you can't rely too much on first-year freshmen coming in to make a difference in your program. Those guys need to be developed, which they've done as well a job as anybody out there in taking in youngsters and developing them, and then when their time comes, they're ready to just blow up. They know we've seen that over and over again, so I have no doubt that will happen some more. But very few of those guys. There's been a few. Cole Bishop comes to mind here recently. But you're not going to have, in football, one player isn't going to make a singular difference. It's a team game, the ultimate team game, and I wouldn't count on 6, 7, 8 freshmen coming in and leading your team to 9, 10 wins next year. So it's clear that it's going to have to be the transfer portal, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they put it out on a Sunday, the night before the portal officially opens, although I don't get all that. These kids have been making their announcements now for a week or so. And there has teams have communicated with these. You can talk to the parents and so forth, and that's been done. I know that's been done. I can cite you literal examples in which that's been done.
Parents, high school coaches, and agents, depending on the kid, there's lots of people you can talk to other than the kid.
Right.
And we've heard tons of stories from recruits. Recruiting is a long dance. Kids want to take the trips, and they get much more pragmatic when they're transferring. And we've heard all the stories about decisions getting made in 24 and 48 hours. There isn't a lot of song and dance.
And I don't even need to. I don't think they need to go check things out, official visits and all that stuff. We saw Mark Pope would get guys on Zoom and give them a tour and all that. And a kid like Isaac Wilson, he's been to all these places, so his dad can figure out what he wants and what's the best situation. What's he looking for? Is he looking for an opportunity to compete next year? Because it would seem like that would rule out BYU. Retzlaff is their guy. But if he's interested in coming in and maybe winning the backup job and then trying to figure out who's the starter in 26 with a whole lot of eligibility left, that's a possibility.
You could use the redshirt year. You could play 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 games, depending.
Right. So we got all that stuff going on there. But as far as Kyle coming back, I mean, this is something that I think he would revel in because he's been here before. He's been at 5-7. He's literally been here before. There's no doubt about it. History will show you that. That's an absolute black and white fact. And he was able to rebound without an infusion of talent to the level that the transfer portal can give you because they didn't have that then in terms of immediate eligibility. You had to sit out. So you would. And I remember asking him because they were still playing 2 years ago. I don't think it was me. Somebody asked him about Dillingham, 32 years old, taking over at ASU because they hired him right after the regular season ended. That Sunday was the press conference, November 22nd, 2023, the second best day of my life, I will admit that. And then the Utes still had to play the next week, right? So their season was still going, so he was still having his Monday press conferences, and he said right there, well, it's never been easier to get better quickly. Well, that's their charge this year. And, my instincts say, man, I'm not going to bet against this guy. Back against the wall, all those cliches. I'm not going to get in the line of his sight and have a punch thrown my way because this guy, he's the ultimate scraper.
The last time they went 5-7, they got off to a great start the next year, 6-1. They beat USC for the 6th win, and that's when we got the epic drop. Two words, bowl eligible.
They hadn't been for 2 years.
All that emotion you talk about, the fighting, the scrapping, the whole team taking on his personality, that explosion in the locker room that they put out on social media, that's all because they'd been 5-7 and it had built up for 2 years. All right, DJ and PK, when we come back, Kalani gets the contract extension, and we will get your reaction to that next. Stay with us.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Diana Sabo, athletic director at Utah State, with a lot of things that Utah State's dealing with on and off the field as well. He checks a lot of boxes in wanting to not only win games, but also do it the right way and helping you change the culture up there, which I got to imagine was just as appealing to you as it was the on-the-field stuff.
Bronco emphasizes consistently. You can see it in his programs. He is a believer and builder of character, discipline, excellence in every way that he is involved with a football program, with a university, with a community. And so at this moment, at this time, Bronco Mendenhall, Holly Mendenhall and their family is absolutely what Utah State and Utah State football needs.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Take DJ and PK wherever you go. Find every moment of every show in podcast form by searching DJ and PK on your favorite platform. This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let us help you be a better you. DJ and PK brought to you in part by University of Utah Health, U of U Health, official health partner for the Utah Jazz. Green Day, the band of the day today. So brace yourself for Green Day throughout the morning. The band of the day brought to you by Live Nation for all the live concerts and events in 2024. Check out livenation.com. Well, we were just talking about Kyle Whittingham returning as the Utes head coach for 21st year, but that was not the only coaching news. Late Saturday night, BYU announces the extension of Kalani Sitake's contract, quote, well into the future, close quote. Reaction. Good move. Absolutely, says Jason. Now let's extend Jay Hill as well, and I will be happy.
Well, the coaching of the assistants, if they have an opportunity, they move on, and no one stands in their way. So you lock Jay up, give him a 10-year deal, but
if he gets a head coaching job,
yeah,
and he likes the opportunity, he's gone.
You have to understand that, and I think everybody does. But was somebody out there bidding on Kalani? Was there some interest? Well, Yeah, why wouldn't there be? The guy just won 10 games. He's won 10 games in multiple seasons here recently.
3 times in 5 years.
Yeah, that's impressive. I don't care. Don't give me some weak schedule argument, blah, 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 blah. Whatever on that. The schedule got better this year, so he's done it at a weak schedule, and he's done it at a Power 4 level. And he beat a playoff team and came within 2 yards of beating another playoff team. Those are facts.
So that's good, you're saying.
Of course.
And the win over the playoff team, SMU, was on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, the other one was too.
Yeah, it was. You're right. At ASU.
So that's how close they came. They were a hair away, a bounce of a pooch punt of possibly being in this playoff. So they had an excellent season. And he's your guy. He wants to be here. He talks about 1,000 times over. He grew up with a fan here. People thought that he was this kind of a bumpkin dude. I can remember I wrote something about it and about the Polynesian thing, and a bunch of people went after me. Where the hell do you think I got it, you fools?
You're just making it up, PK. Yeah, it's not an issue.
Right. So just attack me all you want. Fine. But he's put that to rest big time as far as I'm concerned. He is your guy, and he is you. And ride him out for as long as it can go. So way to go for BYU. And we talked about I saw, because Broncos at a public institution, those things are public record. Saul's salary was in the $2 million range. And
starts at 2, and he's got like 3% raises.
Escalators,
right, yeah.
They all do. And I'm sure
and
the
there's
bonuses and blah,
all
blah,
over
blah.
the place.
Everybody's
right.
got that. Dillingham's making like $1.5 million in bonuses this year.
All right.
If you add it all up. And he still has an opportunity to get some more. So,
Ka-ching.
Yeah, good for that. Kyle, I think, in the Rose Bowl thing, made close to $650,000 in bonuses. His salary was higher, so the bonus structure wasn't as big because the guaranteed money was already there. But that's the way it is. And so BYU, they need to pay Kalani at least of what Broncos getting, and I think they have. They're a private institution, so you don't know. But I've been told the coordinators are in the 7 figures, and so they've stepped up.
That's the price of playing poker these days.
It has to be.
Yep.
Yeah. It's crazy, but it has to be. It's freaking Juan Soto is getting a $750 million deal. I mean, come on. Just like 3-4 years ago, Bryce Harper was the biggest deal, and it was half of what Soto's getting. Half. $300 million plus. Oh, that's outrageous, man. 13 years. He's going to be 38 years old. What are you thinking? Well,
here comes
Shohei. Bargain.
Here comes Shohei.
Yeah.
And now here comes Soto.
Right. And I don't know who's the best free agent going in the next season, but there'll always be somebody. And if he's a legendary player, like I think Soto will be a Hall of Famer. So they had the Mets paid him, but even if it wasn't the Mets, there was 3 or 4 other teams that had the cash and were going to offer him that, and we'll see all that stuff. That's the way of the world, man. And money talks. It always does the loudest voice in the room at all times. And so here, BYU needs to step it up, and I think they have. And yeah, this is to put this to rest. What's Kalani? Is he even 50 yet? He can have that legendary career here in 3 10-win seasons. And now the bar's going to be set. You got to keep it going. Yeah, 49 years old. So away you go.
DJ PK, away we go. When we come back, Riley Jensen joins us to talk all things playoffs.
Steve Cleveland.
And Riley's he'll be here at 9. Steve Cleveland's at 8. Got my hours messed up. Steve Cleveland will join us to talk basketball next. The Aggies are undefeated. What? The arrow's up for the Cougars, but how much should we be putting expectations on a team that's this young, that looks as talented? We'll talk with Steve Cleveland about that next. Stay with us.
One of the coolest stations in the world.
Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio show for over 20 years.
Everyone's listening.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. We are joined once again by Steve Cleveland. Steve, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, guys. Good to hear from you. Hope you're doing well.
Hope you're doing well as well.
Yep.
The basketball season is off to an interesting start here. The Jazz with a massive rebuild, the losses piling up. The Aggies with a new coach, undefeated 9-0, playing for 10-0 for the first time in school history on Saturday. And the Cougars with so much talent and so much hype. But, man, the first road game and the first neutral court game, those two didn't go well. But should we just set those aside because these guys are new? A lot of them are new to college basketball. And they got comfortable at home, but the road and even neutral courts can be a different deal.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think that I've had an opportunity to watch this team in practice several times and obviously watch a number of games like you guys have. And I think that it's been interesting, obviously, just to see when you talk about Demon and Catchings, who are guys that everyone's thinking that might, they may be gone in 1 year here, but I think what sometimes people forget is that they're still 18 years old, and this is and collegiately, you start looking at the young players, and there's such an expectation, I think, that it's a little bit unrealistic, and I know that Yegor and Cannon Catchings are guys that are probably going to go out. But I think there's been so much expectation that I think people have kind of forgotten that they're still 18 years old. And when you start looking at collegiate basketball in itself, you look at the really great teams. They've all got seniors and juniors, and they've had experience. And so I think they've had, BYU's had to deal a little bit with that. But it's still a team that's solid. They got spanked pretty good the other night, and I think Agor and Catchings, were like 1 for 18, which is tough to deal with. But I still like this team. I mean, I think there's just a huge upside, but I think the expectations, especially going into the Big 12, it's not going to be easy. And I don't care what they're going to be doing next year, but between Saunders, Traore, Nell, Dawson Baker, Hall, guys that have been around, they'll be kind of the foundation of this team. And, we'll just kind of see what's going to happen. But it was kind of a wake-up call watching some of those games, and I'm sure you guys have too. But I still like this team. I think they're an opportunity for them to get to the tournament, but it's just not going to be as easy as what it's been in the preseason, where they've not really played anybody. And then when they have played someone, they got spanked pretty good. So I like the team, but I just really do believe that if this team's going to go, get to the tournament this year and get to the NC2As, that Yegor and Catchings will still be a big part of that. Yegor is special, and I know you guys have probably talked about him, but I just feel like he's a guy that could go to the next level and have an impact. Catchings is obviously a great shooter, perimeter guy, but he's not nearly as, and for me, being ready right now for the league or being a real difference maker on even the BYU team, I think he's still a bit away. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Agor right now, if he would be on the Jazz, I would be happy because I think that's exactly what they need. But, he's not a ready-made player to be able to jump in there and dominate every game all the time against guys that are literally 4 and 5 years older than him. But you see what he does. You see his court vision and his desire to want to pass the ball, his athleticism. He had that dunk going down the left side. I don't even remember what game it is, and he threw it down.
Yeah, it was in the tournament.
It was very, very impressive to just his court awareness. I realized he couldn't throw it in the ocean against Providence, and he literally did not make a shot. I'm already over it. I don't care. It's like going to a baseball game and watch some stud strike out 4 times in a row. It happens, and it'll happen again, right? I mean, I looked in the box score the next night, or that night in the NBA. Fred VanVleet, an accomplished pro, was 1 of 10 from 3. So I'm over that. All the stuff that he has, I think he's going to be a terrific player for whichever team gets him. And I think right now, and things could change, I think he goes in the top 5.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree with you. Growing up, which most people that are listening to this show probably won't remember, but I remember reading a book called A Sense of Where You Are, and it was the story of Bill Bradley. And you guys might remember, obviously, Princeton, NBA, went on to be a politician and serving the government. But he was kind of a hero of mine growing up. And when I was a high school player, I kind of looked up and kind of followed him. And I think of Agor, and I think about, there's a guy who has a sense. He always knows where everyone is. And the book was really fun to read for me because I was a high school kid, and I love Bill Bradley, and he was someone I followed. But every time I think about Agor in that sense, I remember my thoughts and feelings about kind of my childhood hero with Bill Bradley. And he always kind of knew where he was. He was always in the right spot. He always had a sense of where the ball should be and where it would go, what the next play would be. And you know about that. I mean, you watch guys that just make plays, and they're in situations where they could see things going forward that everybody else couldn't see. And Agor is somebody that I just feel like, you're right. I mean, you put him on the Jazz right now, and I'm not saying that he'd necessarily be the best player, but he'd have the biggest impact on that team.
Bill Bradley, coach, flanked by Dave DeBuscher, Jerry Lucas, Willis Reed, Dick Barnett, Earl Monroe, and Walt Frazier. Dean Meminger coming off the bench with Phil Jackson, and you're asking me if I remember Bill Bradley?
You did this, Steve. This is your fault. You did this. I steered clear. You walked right into it.
You're right. I did.
Yeah.
This is a show, man. I got to catch up a little bit here. I'm sorry, bud.
John Gianelli, Hawthorne Wingo at the end of the bench. Red Holtzman. Yeah.
We might be done with the show now.
Yeah. It's 10 o'clock. Good night, everybody. Have a good day. One last thing about Agor and his shooting, because honestly, watching him move with the ball, so smooth, like butter. I never, ever, ever dribbled a basketball and went anywhere and looked that smooth. It just, he was probably dribbling between his legs when he was, I don't know. I'm going to get in trouble if I go down that road. I'm going to be in as much trouble as you were with Bill Bradley. He's so smooth. He's so smooth with the ball. He's so smooth. The shooting percentages, which we heard were going to be a big deal, at home against overmatched competition, he shot it fine. He did not shoot it well in that tournament they were in with Ole Miss and North Carolina State, and then the game at Providence. All told in that, he shot under 30% from the floor. But I thought he went and shot a lot more free throws in those games and was attacking the rim, which goes to basketball IQ, reading the game. It's not going in here. I'm going to go to the bucket, and they foul him. And he shot free throws well, and David Locke has told us a million times, NBA scouts are like, we can teach them to shoot the three if they can shoot a little bit. So the scouts always check free throw percentage. So even though he shot the ball really poorly on the three-pointers, on the two-pointers, as PK likes to say, on the one-pointers, he shot 80% in those three games. So that tells me, all right, the shooting was bad, but it can improve over, multiple summers. We've seen other guys do it. I don't know how much better he'll get as a three-point shooter over the course of the season. Maybe great. Maybe he'll be shooting it great when he gets to conference. But in the long run, I would think that works out, and he's going to end up being a high draft pick because they're going to look at the free throws, and it looks right now like he can shoot free throws 80% against the three high-caliber teams when there was more pressure and they were losing two of those games.
No, I've watched them practice several times, and I've watched Agor knock threes down, and practice you'd make 10 or 15 threes in a 2.5 hour shot, practice. So I've watched him shoot. It's like I don't think it's broken, I just think it's a matter of confidence and who hasn't had a bad night? Right. Everybody goes through a bad night. I want this guy on my team.
Yeah.
And he just does so many other things. And the really kind of a cool thing about Agor that just going to games and watching games and going to practices, and I've been in a couple of social situations where he is such a great kid. I mean, he is as humble and fun-loving. You forget, you see a guy that all the hype and NBA and this and that and what his future looks like, but he's still an 18-year-old kid. I mean, he's got a sense of humor. He's a great teammate, and that's what I really enjoy about him is that he doesn't take himself real seriously. I mean, it's just one of those things, and he's competitive, man, and he can do so many things at a young age that just kind of, oh, what was that? And so I love that young man as a player, but I really love him as just a person. And I just think he's got such a huge upside because he's going to be a great teammate wherever he goes in the next level.
You've been associated with BYU for close to 30 years. You know, obviously you coached there and then you went and did your thing over in California. But now you're back in the community and you've talked about how you've been around the basketball program. So you've been around the athletic program for a good while and you've seen it for 3 decades. And we're seeing Kalani Sitake gets the contract extension the other night that they announce it. And it seems to me, and from what my conversations are with folks, that they have really, really stepped up their game financially, that it's not, they used to almost like, it's before we even were around here, back Lavelle Edwards, that they were cheap. And, we had Coach Edwards on long after he retired, and we were joking about him doing the coaches show after games. He would take calls after a game as if a Saturday coaching football wasn't long enough. And he joked with us, this was like in the last 2 or 3 years of his life, he joked with us on the air. He said, well, I had to do those coaches shows, those call-in shows. They paid me $75 a show. And you know him and the way he could deliver lines that he delivered, right? I mean, he was so funny that way. And now you look at it, I mean, it's just something. I want you to comment on BYU's overall commitment financially and all the things that encompasses into their athletic program.
Well, it has been a huge impact, and I'm not going to get into who's doing what, but I think right now there is a commitment as a university, and obviously, men's basketball and football are huge things, but it trickles down to everyone and how they travel and what they do and the money that's being spent. And obviously there's donors and people that are very committed, people with deep pockets. We know that, Ryan Smith and others have really stepped up and have been just amazingly generous in trying to help build those programs, to build the programs at every level. And it is different. I mean, I started thinking about my salary and back in 1997, 98, and obviously, I'm coming from a junior college where I think I'm making about $75,000 a year, and so it's one of those things where, I'm looking at that thing and saying, wow, I don't remember what my salary was, but it's probably around 100 and something, and it was like I thought I died and gone to heaven. I mean, I thought, man, the world can't be any better than it is right now, and so I didn't think a lot about that in terms of the money and the fiscal part of it. That kind of is great for my family and long term, opportunity to have some security financially. But today it's just a whole different thing, and so and as it should be. I mean, there's so much money at in terms of the TV money, the radio money, all the different monies that are available to these programs, but the commitment that BYU has made is amazing, and they're winning championships at a lot of different sports, whether it's track and field or volleyball, soccer, women's soccer. It's just one of those things that the athletic program has benefited from the real generous donations from a number of people throughout the state of Utah that are big BYU fans, and it just does make a difference, and you're able to attract. And I'm not really sure. You can maybe answer this for me, but I'm not exactly sure what the NIL stuff looks like for teams other than football and men's basketball. Have you heard much said about that? And I never really even had a conversation with with Brian or anybody else in terms of it must have impacted the other sports. I just don't know if it's to the degree that it is with football and men's basketball. But I would think the trickle-down effect is that everybody's benefiting from this. And consequently, you start looking at the teams with BYU and University of Utah. It doesn't matter. I mean, there is money's available, and it's not. I'm speaking out of turn here because I probably don't know how these young people are compensated in sports other than men's basketball and men's football. But what do you have you seen that? Have you had any conversations with folks in Utah or BYU relative to how the changes that have been made that have really impacted the success of these teams?
I think it goes by conference, by school, and by sport. And when you occasionally you find a school or an individual booster who's really motivated. PK's got baseball NIL stories. I don't know the numbers, but I know that the Utah gymnastics and boosters there formed a collective specifically to benefit that program, which, has been top 5 for a long time. So there are those stories, and PK, you ought to share some of those baseball NIL stories. Now, not every school has this commitment to baseball, but some schools and some leagues do.
Oh, yeah. The Arizona State athletic director told me that they had a starting player, and I don't want to give up too much information, but he said that there was another school out there that they needed some depth in their infield. Not to start, depth. And so they plucked a guy off the Sun Devils roster for depth. And they gave him way, way more than the Sun Devils were able to give. And so he went. And the athletic director, who's an old baseball guy himself, he's getting worked up as he's telling me this. And, he was a punch and Judy hitter. That specific phrase. But he took the money. And what are you going to do? Who's going to tell you not to take the money? And he said the kid won't start where he's going, but that's the reality of the situation. And there's the Sun Devil baseball coach, a guy named Willie Bloomquist, who played there and also played many years in the MLB, in the big leagues. And he just went on last year and saying, hey, guys, this is our team, and if we don't have the cash, we're not winning. It's as simple as that. I can do whatever I want. I can be the greatest coach ever, but money's out there. And so these other sports, they're having to pay too. It doesn't really matter what sport. If you want to win at a high competitive level, this is the reality in the world in which exists today.
Yeah.
And if you look at the College World Series, 8 teams go, and it was an SEC ACC invitational. It's just line them up. So I think when you look at other conferences, clearly those schools must be paying the NIL. And then you look around at these other conferences, you used to see smaller schools that didn't have power football programs go and sometimes even win the College World Series. Fresno State, Pepperdine, UC Santa Barbara got there once. My alma mater, and that's not happening now. They just line them up. It's the SEC and the ACC, and everybody else get out of the way.
Yeah, I mean it's the world we live in, and I think it's great for the student athletes, and and if they're in a situation where they can improve their lives, and for some of these, the money that a lot of these athletes are making is life-changing money. I mean, it's just crazy money that, especially in football and in men's basketball, who would have ever thought that the monies that were being paid out would be more than an athlete could make in 4 years, in a year. It's just I didn't see this ever coming, and that's just the world we live in now, and I think it's great. I have no problem with it. I mean, you got to. I don't think you can compete at this level at the Division I, the highest at the Division I level, and not be a part of that. I mean, you're going to be a step behind, and you're not going to have the players that these other guys are getting, and you just got to step up. And like you said, with the big conferences, they've got that money, and they're going to spend it. It's professional sports.
Before the season began, before basketball season started, I had someone who worked in the NBA for 30 years, maybe even longer, and he told me that that he wasn't. This was, I can't get too specific. We're giving up, folks, but he had direct information that Yegor's people had told BYU, hey, we're not guaranteed to be a one and done here, but we are going to see where he stacks up. And so, like, if he were to be drafted, just say 20th this year, and so far he's been moving up already, but this was before the season, before they even played one game. And say in 25 he would be drafted 20th, and he got back information from the league, hey, if you stay in school, you could be a top 5 pick in 26. And Yegor's people told BYU, told Kevin Young that, okay, if that's the case, he would be interested in staying, but the difference that he's not going to get by going in the NBA after 1 year versus 2, you're going to have to make up that difference financially. And if you make up that difference financially, he'll stay. Now, this was before the season, so if he blows up into this year and he's a top 5 pick, that becomes irrelevant. But that's right. And the guy who told me this, I trust him 100%, and I don't want to get anything more than that. Yeah. And if you're interested, I'll tell you off the air. But so then that's the reality of it, that if that's the case, and Yegor may blow up and may be a top 5 pick this year, so it will be a moot point. But that's what guys are telling, hey, well, I'll stay a second year, but you got to make up the difference that I would be getting if I went to the league.
Well, I'm not so sure. Of course, you're talking about a multi-year contract for Yegor, and that's a different deal. But I'm not so sure that collegially that the university can match the money. I mean, if the commitment of BYU is, hey, this kid's thinking about staying, well, we're going to have to compensate him, and I have no idea what his financial package is. But at the end of the day, if he were wanting to stay, I think it'd be a pretty special deal that could be competitive with, an NBA roster. So, I mean, I don't know if they do that. I don't know if he even has a desire to stay. But if he did, I think he'd be compensated in a way, just for an annual 1-year deal. I think that number would be pretty big. And I think universities can do that now. And they're proving that they can spend big money. And I don't know if all of this is public. Maybe it is collegiately. You can tell me about that more than I would in terms of these kind of things that are going on with NIL money. Is that public information? Is that information that you and I can know, or is that kind of off the table? It's none of your business. I don't know, but
it's a gray, hazy area, and coaches will tell you that. Kids are lying. It's the wild, wild west. They'll tell you the number. You got to try and do your research so you don't. You've only got so much in your budget, and you can't – it's poker. You can't get bluffed. You got to figure out what the market really is, and sometimes you miss. And coaches have been pretty blunt about that. But they can't overpay because they only have so much money. And we got to let you go. But one thing I think we have to watch is while money matters a lot, right? There were 4 SEC teams and 4 ACC teams in the 8-team College World Series. Money matters a lot. Probably those 8 didn't all have the same resources either. I'm intrigued by what Utah State basketball is doing because they don't have the resources to keep their coaches. They are on their 5th men's basketball coach in 8 years. 1 got fired, 1 got let go, but 3 of them got better jobs. 2 of them went to power jobs at Utah and Washington. Yeah. And Jared Calhoun comes in from the other side of the country, and they are 9-0. And I know there's money games in there, but there's at least 2 and maybe 3 or 4 good wins. They beat St. Bonaventure. Iowa, obviously, okay, and Wyoming's a conference game. They beat St. Bonaventure, who's 9-1 in the A-10. They beat Montana, who sometimes they're good in the Big Sky, sometimes they're not, so we'll see how that plays out. And they did have a core of guys. They brought 5 guys back, but that's still a lot of new guys and a new coach. And, you want the guards who are going to take big shots and handle the ball, and they have that with Falslev and Martinez staying in the program. But 9-0, they've never been 10-0. They're playing to go 10-0 against South Florida. And it's early, and we'll forget these games when we get to conference, so we'll see how it stacks up. But they don't have the most resources. We know that. They're not without resources, but they don't have the most. So maybe there's a way through this maze of money if you have the right people.
Well, and I think with the transfer portal, and you're right. I mean, I've actually watched him play 2 or 3 times. and they're really good. And I don't know a lot. I need to do a little more research myself on them and what's going on with the transition of just going from coach to coach, and they just never seem to miss a beat. And but I have watched them, and I don't know enough to talk about them today. But I love that team, and you're right. I mean, it's just year to year, a new coach, same system, and there's just that toughness about them. And I remember watching them just a few weeks ago, and I'm just going, wow, I don't know any of these people, I mean, I think, I haven't really kept up a lot with Utah State, but I just, I saw the same thing that you saw, is that it's unbelievable the success this program's had. And they've had, guys we've never heard of, I mean, and they step in and they're successful. So I will do my homework on USU because I'd like to dive into that a little bit too and take a look at history of that program and the consistency and the success that program has felt for a number of years now. Last, 15, 20 years, there have been great coaches, solid teams, and they're getting to the tournament regardless of who's coaching them. And so it has been fun to watch and to see the success they're having, not just this year, but throughout the past number of years, where they've just constantly found themselves in the hunt, winning conference championships, opportunities to get to the tournament. So look forward to talking about that next week.
Yeah. The ball moves. That was the first thing I noticed. The ball never sticks. I'm watching Jazz games. The ball sticks all the time. I don't know how Will Hardy hasn't, pulled all his hair out. The ball sticks all the time. But, man, as soon as I watched Utah State, I thought, these guys may not even know each other's names yet, but the ball is just bang, bang, bang. It just keeps moving. Everybody's a willing passer, and everybody seems to know where it's supposed to go next. PK always talks about Joe Ingles. He loved Joe Ingles was going to throw a pass. He knew where he was throwing the pass before the ball got to him. And the ball moves in Utah State games. It's impressive.
You reminded me of when you said the ball gets sticky, and I hadn't really thought about that in quite a while in my life. And that was one of my favorite things. Just don't get sticky with this thing, man. Just move the ball. One more pass, open shot. And when you watch teams play like that, whether in college and even in the NBA, some of the elite teams in the NBA, there's always one more pass. And that's what a successful team's about when they're committed to do that. And Utah State certainly has been one of those teams that, no matter who is coached, that mentality has always been there. And you look at championship teams at every level, making the extra pass, knocking shots down. That's where confidence is bred. When you make an extra pass to a teammate, you develop a sense of trust with your teammates, knowing that there's going to be one more and maybe one more after that. And when you have that, you don't have the stickiness of just guys trying to make a play with a ball. That's what championship teams looks like.
Steve, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
DJ PK brought to you in part by ReadyWise. Be wise, be ready. Your trusted partner in emergency preparedness. Hey, we got Win Ticket Wednesday coming up this weekend, and it's your chance to win big. We got tickets to Aerofest with Styx, Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon, Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, June 11th. Listen to The Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win tickets to Aerofest with Styx and Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon. DJ and PK coming up next. Football news. So much of it. College football was on fire this weekend, and we will get to that next. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I told you we went to this country writers thing in Nashville where you saw these different people that write hits. But mixed in the middle was this old timer. He sang a song about his dog dying. I'm not kidding. Like there were people going, play a happy song, like yelling at this guy.
Be happy.
Be happy. Guy played like 3 songs and everybody was like, oh, I'm so depressed. Yeah. You know what? Read the room.
Yeah, right.
By the way, and he said before he sang the dog dying song, he's like, nobody's picked this one up. I can't figure it out. I can. The song was called For Pete's Sake, and the dog was named Pete.
It's a little on the nose.
I'm just coming to this theater to rock out on some country I barely like, and they got to sing about a dog dying.
Dying dog, for Pete's sake.
Oh, it's so bad. So bad, dude.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. When it comes to the biggest moments in Utah sports history, these guys have seen it all. This is DJ and PK. DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Take the stress out of Christmas shopping. Get the best blankets and gifts ever at Minky Couture. Save 50% by using the promo code ZONE50 at checkout at minkycouture.com or visit one of the 6 Minky locations. PK, so many things happening in college football this weekend.
It's now Scat Kinahan.
Scat Kinahan, in honor of the Arizona State Sun Devils leading rusher, and now their leading receiver on the season.
Leading man.
It was just a matter of time. He took that swing pass, went 33 yards for the test. I'm like, I knew they'd throw him the ball and he'd make a play. It was kind of over
that
one
point run that he had, man, he must have broke 14 times.
I know. It was awesome.
Stunning.
Count them. I wonder if that's going to translate to the NFL. I feel like NFL linebackers are routinely underrated for the super freakish athletes they are. It's why I don't think quarterbacks should run in the NFL. Like, you are disrespecting linebackers and strong safeties. They are bigger than you think. They are faster than you think, and they hit harder.
Well, nobody could have this level of success.
Right?
So I would say no.
There aren't that many missed tackles in the NFL. Oh, yeah. I don't.
Just what it's about.
There aren't that many missed tackles in the NFL.
Not the way he does it.
I know. It's amazing. His balance is great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He puts that hand on the ground, and away he goes, yeah. So
they spun him around and flipped him like a top at the end of one of those tackles.
I now want to be known as Scat.
Scat.
I used that yesterday to some golfers that we were golfing with in St. George. Ryan, who could only drive it maybe 380 yards. Father of 4. I told him I was going to mention it.
Yeah.
And so they were big fans, and we were golfing right as the time was coming out, or the playoff thing. And they were asking, Alabama get in? I look up, no. Miami, no. Who the Sun Devils playing? Oh, that's Scataboo. And they were calling me Pat. I said, I now want to be known as Scat. And they laughed hysterically. And I looked at my wife. I said, I told you that line would work.
She's just shaking her head like, tee the ball up over there, radio boy.
So it's no longer Pat. It's Scat. With a K. Scat with a K.
Okay. Well, just remember you're in the spotlight all the time when you're golfing at St. George, because I just had someone telling me that they were golfing in St. George, and they found out that they worked up here in TV, and they're like, oh, I golfed with a radio guy, a sports type, and he randomly gotten hooked up with you somewhere.
Me?
Yeah, Coral Canyon or Sky Mountain or wherever.
I'm sure it was a pleasant experience.
He was a Michigan man.
I'm a joy to be around.
All right, so many football stories. What's with all the Utah quarterbacks hitting the portal? Not surprising to see a quarterback go, right? They're 4 deep, and we've heard about one. We know a freshman's already signed, and we've heard about Dan Pierre coming in. Okay, 2 signed. So somebody's going to go. Sam Heward never played. He's going to go. He got hurt before he could get out on the field. Otherwise, he would have gotten a shot during this past season. And Isaac Wilson's going to go. That raises some eyebrows. Local guy. That was the school he grew up rooting for. And then Rose is in the portal. You get 3 in the portal. Coincidence?
No.
You made some calls.
Yeah. Jason Beck wants a running quarterback. Those 3 quarterbacks that you just mentioned are what we would define as pro style.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that they can't move.
Right.
I never really saw Heward play, but I've seen the other 2 play.
Yeah.
I saw Isaac Wilson play 1,000 times in high school.
They have mobility elements.
No, that's an old school distorted phrase, stilted phrase.
Time to bring Bronco Mendenhall quotes back.
He better come on Monday mornings like all the other coaches have. I would be disappointed if he didn't. And so Jason Beck wants a running quarterback. Well, the running quarterback is over there at New Mexico.
Dampier.
And this guy's a stud in terms of his athletic ability running around. He's really good. And so that's who they want. And we'll see if they get him. I think they will. And then he'll come in here, and that's the offense. So these guys saw what the situation was. I mean, this is old school. Troy Aikman grows up in Oklahoma and was at Switzer. Yeah, we'll run a pro offense for you. Well, he goes there for 1 year. Nah, that's not what we do. And then he transfers, right? And now he's a Hall of Fame quarterback making $18 million to broadcast 1 game a week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good gig.
So this stuff happens. It's not any big deal. As long as they get the guys and they got a couple of freshmen and they get Dampier to come in, I'm looking forward to an exciting offense next year.
It's odd that I watched New Mexico play 3 football games this year, and one of them was in San Diego State.
Not really.
It's
Bronco. There's a bunch of Jorgensen, a bunch of guys. Beck.
They played Montana State, and it was week 0, so there weren't many games on. And it was a competitive game, which they actually lost at the end.
They did. They lost that game. They did.
And then the Arizona game got us all because Dampier
like 900 yards offense from each team.
Yeah, and Dampier had almost 400 running and passing.
T-Mac had over 300 yards of receiving in that game.
Yep,
I watched that game too.
Yeah, and obviously the Aggie game. So,
yeah. Oh, I saw the Washington State game.
Wazoo, 38-35. That was a big win for them. Big win for the Lobos.
They were ranked at the time. Yeah. So, I mean, it's Bronco. I mean, Bronco can go coach on Neptune, and I'm going to follow him, right? No big deal there.
As far as all the Utah quarterbacks hitting the portal, Brett says total offensive reset. Go Utes. Singer's gone. Keithy's gone. Running back, Mekhi Bernard's gone. So it really is a reset across all these skilled positions. Now you can argue the O-line. And if
they
the
will
O-line
be very active
in the portal.
Yes, and Kyle talked about that 2 weeks ago.
Nelly, well, I'm so glad we wasted our time with Wilson and lost as many games as we did. Kyle stuck with him when he shouldn't have. I don't blame Rose. He should have been Cam's backup, not Wilson. Now if Cam comes back, I'll be really pissed. Move on and get some good quarterbacks in the portal. Well, Nelly, I'm glad we could help you blow off steam. That's good.
Whoa, Nelly.
Whoa, Nelly. But move on and get some good quarterbacks in the portal. It sounds like that's actually the plan. I mean, they've got to bring in another QB in the portal, don't they? They can't go in with a running quarterback and then freshmen backing them up.
Oh, you're talking about 2 then in the portal.
You got to have some depth. You got to have some experience, don't you? Now, Dampier stayed healthy the whole year, but he runs a lot.
He does. He ran over for like 1,100 yards.
Right. So he's going to take a lot of hits. 155 carries. That's a ton of carries. But it's the only way to get to 1,100 yards. You got to have a ton of carries.
Yeah.
So I would just think they need an experienced quarterback behind him. Now, maybe it's what BYU did a couple of years ago. Maybe there's some JC guy out there. I don't know. Maybe there's a freshman out there who'd be willing to sit and take a chance on playing. You know, maybe I get to play early, and if I don't, that's okay. Some quarterbacks have that mentality. Others do not.
Well, yeah, they got their work cut out for them, but they know that. This roster, by the time we get to spring ball, I think is going to look dramatically different. And then who knows after that?
Right. Nobody knows.
You wanted to shake it up offensively, where they're shaking it up offensively, and now you're whining?
Miguel is, before you even said that, was right there with you. New OC, he's bringing in his own people.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to.
This is a dramatic change. This is the most dramatic change we've seen at a Utah's football program in who knows how long.
Whittingham. That's why the QBs are transferring. He's a defensive coach that wants to micromanage the offense. He should let the OC loose and focus on defense and special teams.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that, but I won't go that far.
You think there's been a little evolution over time? The micromanaging was more a 2010, 2015 era thing. By the time you get to 2020, he brings back an offensive coordinator he's got a lot of faith in, who's won, and he's more hands-off at that point than he was just picking round numbers 5 and 10 years earlier. I can't point to a specific year and say, okay, he started changing his thinking here. But I can just look big picture. How did he handle coordinators when he went into the Pac-12 as they started winning the Pac-12? And then by 2020, although that's the COVID year, but they've been to a couple of conference title games, and Andy's back.
And he loves the running quarterback because he believes that's the hardest to defend.
Right. And he's not alone there.
And I haven't heard Scally say it, but I'm guessing that he believes it too.
The same thing.
Yeah.
I've heard that out of BYU coach, so not one who's there currently, but the running quarterback. You struggle to defend running quarterbacks. Everybody struggles to defend running quarterbacks. Okay.
I hope this Dampier kid comes. I'm excited to see what he can do.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. More football with Riley Jensen talking playoffs right after the top of the hour right here on The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Watching Luke Batari play at the end of the game, watching Brandon Rose play like he did against BYU, is it fair to ask how in the world Isaac Wilson was QB2? Batari and Brandon Rose were better and more efficient in the reps they got than Isaac was as a backup quarterback this year. Those two guys have played better this year than Isaac Wilson did. Why was Isaac QB2? Why didn't they go to one of these guys earlier in the season?
I don't believe it. I don't believe that there's a conspiracy there that they were like...
I don't think it's conspiracy at all. I think they just chose Isaac as QB2, and that's how it was.
I think the reason they chose him,
out.
Maybe he is a little bit of a spring and fall football warrior, like a fall camp guy. Maybe it was a Charlie Brewer situation. You're like, no, he looked like he won the job. Why would they have wanted to put Isaac Wilson in there prematurely if he wasn't ready?
I still believe in Isaac. I think he's great. I think there's a lot of talent there, but you can throw a kid out there too soon.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Stafford, play fake, looking, launching, it is Nacua, did he stay in? Oh, he did! How on earth did he catch that and stay in bounds? Puka Nacua!
Puka Nacua with an outstanding catch along the sideline, part of his 12-catch, 162-yard performance, 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. He did it all. He was spectacular.
It doesn't surprise me, man. This is like Taysom Hill ran for a touchdown.
Tom Brady interviewing him after the game, going crazy. That catch, the toes were tapped. The ball's a little upfield. Kind of came in over the top of his helmet to the wrong shoulder, but didn't matter. He grabbed it.
Skill-wise, he's the best receiver BYU's ever had, but he was only there for 2 years, and he's had injury issues, so I got to go with Austin Collie as far as production. Now, Austin was there for 3.
Right. But when he plays, he's unstoppable.
Yes.
As Boise State found out in the end zone when there was tons of pass interference, and he caught the game-winning touchdown pass anyway.
Yeah.
With the game, I think it was 4th down.
It was.
Game on the line.
Yeah.
Make the play.
Right.
And he did. And if that's it. That's like the one play I'll remember from him at BYU.
Oh, he had that first play of the game. I think it's South Florida.
And around.
It was a jet sweep.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
He's really good.
But that Boise State play will always stay with me. That was
a phenomenal play.
It was a big time play.
Jaron Hall,
big game, under pressure, everything, and they made it happen.
Yeah.
And it was tons of PI, and it didn't matter. He caught the ball anyway.
Tons of PI.
Tons of PI.
You're right.
Just grabbing arms, grabbing jerseys.
He's an amazing player.
Yeah. Just got to stay healthy. I mean, he's proven in the NFL. He did stay healthy last year, and that was a spectacular year. And that was a great game. I mean, he had Tom Brady screaming up there, "That's insane!" And they do a post-game interview, and they put it out on social media. And Brady was apologizing for his voice. "You made me scream too many times during the game. I've lost my voice."
Did he? Did Puka giggle?
Of course. He was charming.
He loves to giggle.
Unbelievably charming.
He's a giggler.
What does Puka? Oh, it basically means,
And at that. So they got his youngest brother. I think it's his youngest brother. Is a freshman receiver at BYU. Didn't get. It's like Tia, something like that. And I'm at the SMU game, and it was clear. Oh, the SMU didn't get the first down, so they had to turn the ball over. And the students were in the first row, and I'm standing there between them and the bench. And one of the kids, hey Nacua, your brother's better. And I wanted to look at him. No kidding. The kid's a freshman.
His brother's better.
That guy was just like a rookie stud.
Well, now his brother's better than Cooper Kupp now. I mean, what do you want?
Move over Jerry Rice.
Well, okay, there. I guess that's what you want. He's got to do it for 10 or 15 more years before you get into that discussion. So many questions this morning. So many things going on. Reaction to the coaching news over the weekend. Kyle's coming back for year number 21 at the U. And there are people who would like to move on, fresh start. And there is a risk, the old cliche, all things end poorly, otherwise they wouldn't end. And a lot of people, every single day, I know Kyle doesn't want to go out like this.
Oh, I'm glad he decided to announce it so people stop asking me.
Yeah.
Sheesh, I couldn't go anywhere.
Is there a risk things go wrong, though? And then it goes out at too bad. That's the risk you take, right?
So what?
That's why they're paying you.
There's risk getting out of bed.
We'll talk coaching and playoffs with Riley Jensen next. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Let us help you be a better you. U of U Health, official health partner of the Utah Jazz. DJ and PK. Riley coming up next. SMU or Alabama, who would he have picked? We'll find out next. Stay with us.
The holiday season. The holidays are here. And once again, all of us at KSL Sports want to make sure you don't screw up the gifts you get this season.
So what do you think?
That's right. It's your chance to be the holiday MVP. Go to KSLSports.com. You can win a 4-pack of travel tumblers from Hydro Jug. Thoughtful, practical, stylish, and spill-proof. Hydro Jug is the perfect gift. Plus, we'll throw in a blanket from Minky Couture. So what are you waiting for? Be the holiday MVP now at KSLSports.com. The guys you know and trust, talking about the teams you can't live without. This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. It's time to bring in Riley Jensen. Former Aggie quarterback, football guru.
The guy who ridiculed me earlier in October for being a Sun Devil fan, that Riley Jensen?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, all right.
Riley, welcome into DJ and Scat, the radio show.
Do we have that? Do we have that recorded? Because I don't remember.
I do not recall. Don't pull a PK on me.
I do not.
Don't pull a PK on me.
I
don't remember.
I am a huge Sun Devil fan. I can't even imagine myself saying that.
Okay.
I can't even imagine.
I'm going to the archives, big guy.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
I was talking about Scattaboo for Heisman like clear back in September. Why would I say that in October? That doesn't even make any sense.
You're right.
Makes no sense. I watched him play in the Big Sky. Dominated the Big Sky when he was there. Give me a freaking break.
You saw him in high school.
I did. I've known that guy since he was at Coral Canyon High School.
Hey, I've walked the streets of Rio Linda, okay? I don't think you two have ever walked the streets of Rio Linda.
What, you were a man of the night?
Yeah, basically. Basically, that's what happened. I was with a photographer who drove over a chair in the middle of the street, and neither one of us saw it. That was a great story about Rio Linda. It's a tough neighborhood. He's got some toughness coming out of Rio Linda.
He might.
I can see that. I knew that in September. What did I tell you guys? Wow. Never a doubt, never for a moment did I think that he wasn't a Heisman contender.
Two big decisions here in the college football playoff. One, Boise State getting as much respect as possible. No one thought the Mountain West champ would be ranked in front of the undefeated Big Ten champion or in front of Georgia, who's piled up a couple national titles of their own and won the SEC. That's 1 and 2. So Boise State's 3. Bronco fans couldn't have won anymore. Should ASU have been 4? Should ASU have been 3? Obviously, Clemson was going to be 5 because they're a 3-loss team and backdoored the whole thing and hit a 56-yard field goal to get in.
Right.
So you okay with 3 and 4, or you'd flip them? And if you don't want to debate that, then debate SMU Alabama because that's what everyone else is debating.
Well, to be honest with you, because I've been such a fan for Arizona State for so long, I would definitely put them as the 3 seed, especially as good as they've been playing. I mean, they got a running back that's like he's over 1,000-yard rusher. He's the second leading receiver on the team. This guy can do it all. Why wouldn't you put them in as the 3 seed? I do feel like, in all seriousness, like there's a couple of head scratchers in there, but I don't think it really matters because I think when they get to the Final Four, the 4 top teams, one of those teams really is the championship team. This is all just really fun to me and really new, and I think all of the arguments about SMU, Alabama, about the 3 and the 4 seed with Boise State and Arizona State are big. I was absolutely shocked, though, and there was a partial smile that came to my face when SMU stayed in. There was just part of me that was just like, okay, like they did lose to Clemson. It's not the greatest team in the world. It was a last-second field goal. But Alabama didn't get in again, right? It was kind of like, okay, so maybe, just maybe, the world is correct and coming back to where it's supposed to be. Because there was no way I thought Alabama was going to be kept out of the playoffs. There was no way I thought that would happen. I didn't care what argument you gave to me. I did not think they were going to not. I thought for sure they were in.
Yeah, I can buy all that. And the field is what it is, and the seeds, I don't know the seeds. You're going to have to win. You're going to have to beat good teams. So, I don't know. Somebody may have an easier draw, but you're still going to have to beat good teams if you want to win it all. It's bottom line.
It's true. It's true. But I think if I was Penn State, I'm looking at it going, ooh, I'm feeling pretty good about where I'm at right now to get to the semifinals.
Okay.
That's what they're thinking.
But you still gotta win.
Sure.
So,
sure.
And we had a situation locally here. Two things we need to hit on. The Utes hired Jason Beck out of New Mexico, and the three quarterbacks put their names in the transfer portal. Isaac Wilson, obviously being the lead local kid. What do you think of all that?
So just, with Isaac Wilson as the lead local kid, I think you just have to put yourself in position with him. From everything that I understand, he's in good standing with the University of Utah. But I think Isaac is in a lot of the same situation that Jackson Dart was in at USC, where you now have a coordinator coming in. Dan Pierce in the portal. Now, Dan Pierce probably getting some offers from some other schools. But to me, if I were him, I'd be using those offers to up the ante with the University of Utah and how much I was going to get paid there. So if you're Isaac Wilson and you've played at the U, you've given your heart to the U, you're in good standing, your teammates and your coaches are behind you. They've said they want you to come back, but they're going to maybe bring Dan Pierre in. I mean, that's a no-win situation for him because, one, yeah, people are saying, oh, maybe he doesn't want to compete for the job or whatever. No, you want to compete where it's fair for the job because
right.
Here's what happens. Here's what happens if you're Isaac Wilson. If Dan Pierre comes in and let's say you compete for the job and you win it, it doesn't matter anyway because your rope's way shorter than it ever would have been in any other situation. Because as soon as you make a mistake, they're going to bring Dan Pierre in. And so I just don't know. I just don't know if it's a great situation for somebody like him to stay. Right now, the other two quarterbacks are going. I don't know if they've been offered to stay or not, but my gut feeling says the University of Utah likes him. They want him to stay, but he's got to test the portal. And from what I'm hearing, Iowa State, Colorado, UCLA, BYU, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, all showing interest in Isaac Wilson. So there's all kinds of opportunities for Isaac. I don't think it's about not wanting to compete for the position, and I don't think it's because he doesn't like the University of Utah. I think it's just, look, man, you want to play college football. When I transferred from BYU and I was the second-string quarterback after spring, when I talked to Lavelle Edwards, I was like, look, I can pay money to watch football at BYU. I love BYU football, but I want to play, right? And he goes, I agree. Who do you want me to call? And I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for Lavelle because we sat in his office and we called other schools together. Now, it's a little different now, right? But we called all the coaches that had offered me out of Snow College, and he helped me with it. And so there's situations that are just, they're not ideal. And if Isaac lost the position and he had to wait for 2 years to play, that's too long. That's too long after having already played. Like you need to play before 2 years from now.
How about 1 year?
Well, doesn't Dan Pierre have next year?
No,
well,
I'm talking about his new school. Like, for instance, BYU. Obviously, Retzlaff is coming back as a senior, so I thought maybe, would he consider them and sit for a year potentially, maybe even redshirt a year?
I think that's a considerable thing. There's no guarantees anywhere you go. In fact, one of the things that I've heard that's been interesting lately is that some schools are offering two quarterbacks to come in at say $600,000 a piece, right? And they're saying we're going to pay you equal, and we're going to have you both compete for the job. And maybe that's a way that some of these schools are going to get around having a really, really good starter and not a backup anywhere to be found anywhere close, is to start paying these guys about the same, have them compete, and then they still have a really good backup because he's making $600,000. He's not even playing, right? So
you're probably going to have an injury anyway.
Good point. That's another point. And so maybe some of these coaches are getting wise to some of this. Instead of offering your kid $1.2, $1.5 million to come in when he could get injured anyway, and then it just blows up your whole season, maybe what you do is you pay two really good quarterbacks $600,000 apiece, have them compete. And then that way, if one of them gets hurt, then you're like, okay, well, we have two good quarterbacks. Our quarterback room is considerably better because we have good guys in the room. Instead of, and look, these are all like guesstimates, and this is me asking around to different people and stuff like that. But instead of paying $1 million to 1.5 for a starter and then $200,000 for the guy that gets the second string job, maybe you go 600 and 600 and you solve some problems for your quarterback room. So it's interesting, and I think it's this is the first year with revenue sharing coming up too, so there's going to be more money available. So I mean, this whole arms race thing is going to get thicker and thicker, in my opinion.
The Utes played 3 quarterbacks last year, 4 this year. They had a quarterback who did not play a snap and had a season-ending injury both of those seasons, on top of the 3 and 4 who played. I find it hard to believe that they're going to go through this season with a quarterback who's going to run the ball a lot. Dampier, assuming he lands here, 155 carries, 1,100 yards. He's going to get hit a lot. What is the backup quarterback situation like at the U? Are they going to be turning to one of the true freshmen, someone else in the portal? There's a JC kid out there somewhere that Beck knows about that we don't know about, but he gets paid to know about that stuff. What are they doing? And maybe they re-recruit one of these guys out of the portal and they come back. Mekhi Bernard was in the portal 2 years ago, and he came back and ended up leading the team in rushing.
My guess is that Isaac is in good standing, and if he wanted to return, he could. I'm just not sure that as I'm looking at it, if I'm Isaac, if I would come back.
Right.
Like it doesn't mean that he can. It doesn't mean that he can't. It's like, should he? Right. Yeah. And
so who's their backup?
Yeah. So then the next thing is Beck's got to be able. He's got to be able to go out and recruit 3 guys this year. And how is he going to do that? There's got to be some money involved if he wants to have a good backup. So my guess is Dampier is going to have more offers than just the University of Utah. He probably wants to come with his offensive coordinator. He's probably using some of these other offers to up the ante for him to come to the University of Utah so he gets paid more, right? And so how much money is there and how much money is available to bring in a good backup or to bring in someone that would want to come in as the backup? Because I'm just telling you right now, I know I was an average quarterback at Utah State, and I know what my mentality was. I thought I was better than any quarterback in the country. And I know there's people in the car right now laughing, going, are you freaking kidding me? You really thought? I did. And I don't think you can play that position without thinking that. I don't think you can. And so when you're talking about bringing a guy in that wants to be a backup and is okay with being a backup, I'm not sure he has the right mentality to play the position. So I think it's tough. I think it's a tough place, and I think that's a position where you've got to have some delusions of grandeur to play that position, because if you can't see it, nobody else is going to see it for you. You have to be able to see that you can be the best quarterback in the country. You can be the best quarterback for that team and for that era, and I don't think that's any different than when I played. In fact, if I think anything, it's probably the other way, because everybody tells them how great they are for their whole life when they play quarterback now.
Are you over the moon that Bronco Mendenhall is the new Utah State football coach?
I think it's a great hire. I think it's a splash hire. I think if you're a Utah State fan, you got to be excited about it. I think there's some instability, and I think there's some problems up there that lean even against somebody like Bronco. I mean, you don't have a Pac-12 deal together. I don't know that we have all Pac-12 teams together. It's still not going to be a group of. It's not going to be a P4 type conference. So we don't even know how much money you're going to have going into the season. You don't know what kind of recruiting budgets you have. Be interested to know what kind of offer they made for assistants and who's paying for that and how they are paying for that. I think there's some interesting questions coming forward, but I think for all the people in Utah State land that made fun of Bronco, they're all certainly cheering now, and they're all loving this decision because they all used to make fun of him. And I've been there, so don't act like you haven't, Aggie fans. You all made fun of him, and now you're getting a really good coach. So you better get in line. And I'll remember each and every one of you that were making fun of him because you'll be right on the front of Twitter and all the Aggie boards talking about what a great hire it is too. So, sometimes things come full circle.
And this is one of those times. Obviously, he's a safe hire because he's got a rep here and he did a lot of winning here. Aggie fans are used to double-digit win seasons. Now, I don't think they happen as often as Aggie fans would like and blah, 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 but they've seen 4 of them and they want more of them. Bronco hasn't done that in a while, and I wonder if you think they have the resources to do it in the new league they're going into. And really, did Bronco have the resources to do it in Mexico? No. Did he have the resources to do it at Virginia? They've only done it once ever, so I think the answer is no. So you think he's, I don't know, the horse racing analogy, the horse that just, is just biting at the bit, ready to go? Do you think there's some limitations there? Because I think Aggie fans' expectations are going to be really high, and I don't know how realistic that is.
I don't know how realistic it is either. This is what I'll say about Bronco. I think Bronco sees himself as a program rebuild. He is an expert in rebuilding programs. And so when everybody talks about stability and all that kind of stuff, I'm not sure that's what is necessarily what Bronco's thinking. What I think Bronco's thinking is I bring stability, I get this program to a better place than when I found it, and then I move on and I go build another program. He's been able to do it at BYU. He's done it at Virginia. I think he thinks he can do it at Utah State with a lot of money or no money, right? I think he sees himself as someone who builds programs, and I think he's got a pretty good formula to that. And love him or hate him when you were cheering for BYU, love him or hate him when you were cheering for Utah State, the one thing that he does bring is some boring consistency. He brings consistency. And players on Broncos team always know exactly what's expected of them. And I think that's something that you can, as a player, from the outside, you may not love Bronco's personality. From the inside, you love a guy like Bronco because he's not going to move the goalposts on you. He's very, very consistent about what it takes to play for him. You've got to take care of things academically. You've got to take care of things off the field, and you got to take care of things in a certain way when you're on the field if you want to play for him. And if you do that, you play. And so I think as a player, you love to play for somebody like that because you don't feel like there's favorites. You feel like there's clearly delineated ways that you can get on the field. And if you do those, he'll play you. And if you do those, you will win and you will go to bowl games. Will you get 10 wins? I don't know, but he's going to have them going in the right direction.
I actually think that all the issues that Utah State's had, that's something that in a weird way, because Bronco is weird, that it attracts him and it entices him, because when he took over BYU, it literally was the worst it had been in 40-some years, not just on the field, but off the field.
Right.
And so he runs to that type of stuff. I'll go clean that up for you. He's the big vacuum. That's my new name for Bronco, the big vacuum.
He's the cleaner.
I really, really want you to say that the first time he comes on the air with us.
Okay.
I don't know how long that'll be, and I don't know if we'll remember it, but sitting here right now, I crave that.
Call him up right now. Ask him to come on tomorrow.
Okay.
And say, that's what we want him. Bronco's a loyal dude. He remembers DJ and PK.
Yeah, he does remember you guys.
He knows who Scat Kinahan is. You're going to have to do that, DJ, because for the rest of the day, I'm going to be going through old shows that we had Riley on this season.
I have never
digging in the archives.
I have never ripped on Arizona State ever.
Man,
my entire life.
So full of crap.
Listen, I know I've said suck dog State, but I have never ripped on Arizona State.
Oh, this is going to be sweet when we find it.
I hope you find it, because there's nothing out there. There's not one thing.
Oh, laying it down. I love this.
It's so full of crap, man.
Ladies and gentlemen of the zone, your wagers, please. Kinahan or Riles?
I'll take it, but I'm telling you right now, if there's not some concrete evidence by next week, I'm coming on this show and I'm going to lay it down on you guys.
Scat versus the liar. The main event.
Well, you're on with us once a week, so PK's just got to go into the archives because you can listen to all this stuff. I had to look something up last night previously, and it's easy to do.
It was in October because I went back at him. I said, well, you're from Utah State, buddy. Don't you remember that?
I don't even know why you would say that. They're equal.
And you're a great quarterback,
They're both
Riley.
state schools.
I'm telling you, man.
Oh, wait a minute. Was this around? Was this triggered by conference realignment and the fact that it's all state schools to get in? Is that where this came from? I have a vague memory of that.
I have no idea what you guys
San Diego State,
about,
Fresno State, Oregon State, Washington State, Utah State, Colorado State. This whole new league is all state schools, and I think there was an Arizona State joke reference.
All I know is I'm glad Riley has his own business and his own boss, because if he had to get drug tested, there'd be issues.
I'm just telling you right now, I have no fear about you looking through whatever there is. I have no fear right now. So do what you got to do. I'm one
the
of
gauntlet's
the
been
best.
laid down.
I hope you're this good in poker, man, because you
I'm just
very
telling
nice
you,
bluffing.
I'm one of the best, if not the greatest, that you've ever had on this show, and I did not say that.
PK's going to be on a treadmill now, listening to the 20-minute DJ, PK, and Riley segments.
I love it that he's going to be listening to more of me.
I'll find it within 5 minutes.
More of me.
I just have to have access for it. I don't know how to have access. Once I figure out how to do that.
Use the Google machine. Type in Zone Riley Jensen DJ PK. Boom. They'll line up for you.
Boom.
Boom. It's easy.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear this, because it's going to be a stretch. I know it's going to be a stretch.
All right.
Too much fun. You guys are great.
All right, and keep listening to see if the big vacuum is on the air soon. I've already texted Yock about lining him up.
Oh, well, he'll be on at 10 o'clock today. We're carrying the press conference.
Right, but with you,
no,
so
I
you can
understand.
ask the question.
I understand.
Right.
He'll laugh. He's got a marvelous sense of humor if he trusts you.
He does. He does.
Well, especially when you back it up with a compliment and you take these broken programs and you fix them and you fix their problems. You'll love that. It's flattering.
That's
a
a matter of
compliment.
fact.
Yeah.
You can take it as a compliment if you want.
He will.
I try not to dish out too many.
I've noticed.
All right. Thanks, Riley. You're the man.
Hey, guys. Have a great day.
Riley Jensen here every week talking football. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. When we come back, everything you missed in this show next.
Accessing. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Diana Sabo, athletic director at Utah State, with a lot of things that Utah State's dealing with on and off the field as well. He checks a lot of boxes in wanting to not only win games, but also do it the right way and helping you change the culture up there, which I got to imagine was just as appealing to you as it was the on-the-field stuff.
Bronco emphasizes consistently. You can see it in his programs. He is a believer and builder of character, discipline, excellence in every way that he is involved with a football program, with a university, with a community. And so at this moment, at this time, Bronco Mendenhall, Holly Mendenhall and their family is absolutely what Utah State and Utah State football needs.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
For all of you less motivated listeners,
It's time for your 9 o'clock. Where the heck have you been headlines?
Where you at?
With DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK brought to you in part by ReadyWise. Be wise, be ready. Your trusted partner in emergency preparedness. December 9th, PK. A little more than 2 weeks till Christmas. 'Tis the season.
It definitely is. It's a season to help other people, too. KSL's Quarters for Christmas is underway, raising money for local children in need. 100% of the money, all of it, that we receive is returned to the community to provide kids with shoes, clothing, and coats. Yeah, just the essentials. You can donate online at www.kslquarters.com or at any Deseret bookstore location.
DJ and PK, time to discuss everything you missed in this show. Kyle Whittingham back for year 21.
Back in the saddle again.
Social media, taking care of that little announcement yesterday, Saturday night, an email late. I think it was like 10:04 p.m. Kalani Sitake, contract extension. So, familiar faces back on the sideline for one more year. You got a headline for each of them. You got a quest for each of them, a goal. Big 12 title game.
Well, you've got, yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
For both of them.
Yeah, and we'll get to this in the coming days, man. I think this conference is going to be wide open for a number of years. We saw that, obviously, this year. I don't think it's any coincidence that our guy, Kyle Whittingham, decides to come back on the anniversary of John Lennon being assassinated. He has a soft spot for John. And this is his way of saying faith in the future out of the now. And I'm not going to bet against Kyle Whittingham. Back to the wall. You suck. You should have retired. You can't do this. Oh, my gosh. 9 wins next year. Book it.
Book it.
Yeah. Remember it. December 9th, 2024. Scat Kinahan told you. Kyle Whittingham.
Scat is his new nickname for himself. Yes, PK is glossing himself. Cam Scataboo.
My hero.
No star receiver, no problem, man. ASU in a romp over Iowa State.
Yeah. Way to go, guys.
What a year. 11-2.
Out of nowhere.
Phenomenal.
Out of nowhere, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they're in the playoff.
And that just that shows you they did it. Why can't Utah, which is historically the last 15, 20 years, a better program? I think they can. Get the right dudes in there. Hit this transfer portal hard. Bring in guys. Do what you do as a staff in terms of coaching them up. We'll see what Jason Beck can do. It's brand new here. I'm excited to see what he can do. I think they'll get the New Mexico quarterback in, see if that happens, and away they go. I wouldn't count them out. And Kalani, yeah, count him in. This is a phenomenon. It's not out of nowhere. You look at Utah goes 5-7, right, with all sorts of crap. BYU goes 5-7 last year with an injury to quarterback, and then they turn around the next year and turn a 10-win season. The Devils had to come from way back.
3-9, back-to-back seasons of 3-9,
and sanctions and all that stuff. But BYU, at least in terms of bowl eligibility, obviously just needed one more. Now they got doubled. They doubled that. I don't know that Utah will get 10 wins next season, but it's not like they're that far away. I mean, they needed a modicum of offense to win 8 or 9 games this year. That's all they needed, and they didn't get it. They needed like this much, and I'm holding my index finger and thumb barely
about 3 inches apart.
Yeah, that's really all they needed, right, to get at least a halfway decent season.
To 8 or 9 or 10 wins. After that requires more. ASU and Colorado require a lot more imagination. The other ones don't require that much. Right. A lot of one-score games.
Right.
And a lot of those games, as you point out multiple times, could have been won if the defense had just been in lockdown mode on the last possession instead of playing with the weight of the world on their shoulders. Oh, no.
Yeah. But just look at next year. You know, Scataboo's gone. Let's see. Colorado, quarterback, star receiver, DB, gone.
Everything changes every year. It's a new college football.
So sit tight. My gosh, you had one bad year. We're going to freak out, change everything.
Well, I mean, the head coaches want to change the offensive coordinator midseason. No. OC just did that. That was totally his deal. I forgot.
So you don't buy that?
I didn't. That's why when he said it, I asked a follow-up question. Really? I mean, that's not what I said, but...
I mean, you put him under the spotlight, too. All of a sudden, all the lights in the room went out.
He repeated himself sternly, and directly, and immediately. Andy's decision.
Oh, is that when he told you to bleep off?
Well, you had to read between the lines to see that.
I did.
Yeah, I know you're good at reading between the lines.
I had to say, hey, easy on the guy, man.
Yeah.
He's kind of a nerd. He doesn't know. And Kyle's okay, because of you, and I trust you, I'll take it easy on that guy.
BYU going to play Colorado in the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio December 28th. The Chiefs win the division for the 9th straight year, banking a field goal through the uprights off the left post as time runs out.
That's what happened.
Now, I get that you shouldn't be able to do this 6 times, but the Chiefs have a knack for improving, and they're trying their third left tackle. The first one was the former BYU Cougar, Sumataiwa, they drafted. And they tried another guy, and now they're bringing in a third guy who's rehabbing an ACL that he hurt last year. If they fix the left tackle, presumably the quarterback gets more time to throw, the sacks and the turnovers go down, and the offense gets more productive. They keep winning games with less than 20 points. The D is great. Now, maybe Buffalo in a playoff game or the Eagles or Lions in a Super Bowl will have something to say about that defense. But right now, these guys struggle to score 20 points. They keep winning on last possession. It doesn't feel like this can last. But a year ago, they had problems in December, and they figured them out late in the season, and they were great in January and February.
Hey.
So it ain't over till it's over, even though these guys just keep playing with fire.
Christian Okoye ain't walking through that door.
Okay. DJ and PK, we will come back with your feedback next. And Bronco Mendenhall press conference coming up at 10 o'clock. We got a lot going on today. Bronco's going to be on, I understand, with Hans and Scotty G at noon. Stick around for that. Your feedback next. And PK. Yeah, who knew? PK, we have a list. One of those things that Clip and Say from 3 months ago when college football started, and one of our listeners put that out there, and it is going to make people look silly. It's hilarious. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I firmly believe it. I'm not kidding. This is not hyperbole. Bronco Mendenhall is a top 25 coach in college football. I have zero doubt about that.
Oh, I agree. He won a UVA.
How do you get that at Utah State? Like, that's crazy. That's LeBron being born in Cleveland, so he plays for the Cavaliers. It's like the only reason Bronco is here is because he has ties to the state. But Utah State has absolutely no business getting a top 25 coach, and he's there now.
I'm excited about it. Reason number one, and why I like Bronco for Utah State, he is a straight arrow, and he makes the most out of the hand that he's dealt. Yeah. He's always done that. So he's going to go into Logan and he's going to win with what he's got. By coaching and developing and all that stuff we used to value in college sports that I sincerely hope succeeds at Utah State. I think it's a home run.
They're going to win 10 games within 3 years. I promise you, they're going to win 10 games within 3 years. That's what Bronco does.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. This is the best feedback of the day.
Oh, I was there. That's the best game of my life.
With DJ and PK on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Let us help you be a better you. U of U Health, official health partner for the Utah Jazz.
And while you're at it, I want you to nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. You can submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to the good guys, JJ and Alex, for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
Clinto Pete tweeting out a list. He found a list from July. He tweeted it out in September, and he retweeted it now. Odds on the first college football coach to be fired. In retrospect, this is hilarious. The odds on this guy were 4-1, and he was definitely in trouble. I mean, there's no doubt he was in trouble. But he coached his team to a 7-5 season, and they finished well. Billy Napier of Florida. The list is tweeted out because 7th at 10-1, Kalani Sitake, BYU. 10-2, new contract, extension.
Things can change, man. Things can change in a hurry.
Ask Dave Aranda, who was 4th on the list at Baylor, and they rallied and won 6 in a row at the end of the year and finished 8-4. They were 2-4
during the season he was dead.
2-4 start, 6-0 finish. 8-4 season. He was 7-1, fourth on the list. Mauro Cristobal at Miami, who ended up with a 10-win season, was at 6-1.
Yeah, but still didn't get what they wanted.
Neil Brown at West Virginia did get let go, 14-1 there, and so he was. Where was he on the list? What is that? 7, 9, 10, 11th on the list, tied for 10th. Deion Sanders at 50-1.
No, he was
never going to get fired.
Not with that kid at quarterback.
Right. And with those fans filling the stadium and with the first year being an improvement.
Yeah.
That was, if you put money in that was wasted. And then it turns out he hit it out of the park.
He walks on water there.
From 1 win to 4 wins to 9 wins.
Yeah, but a little disappointing there because they could have been.
They had a chance, and it looked like to get to the Big 12 title game.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Right.
A little disappointment, but still. If you told the AD when walking out of the press conference when they hired him, 4 wins next year, 9 the year after, the guy would have clapped. Sweet, we're going to be playing to full house. This is going to be good. I'm going to be the hero.
Deion's economic impact on that area is off the charts.
Right? DJ PK, we are out of time. Press conference coming up. Bronco Mendenhall will be introduced as the new head coach at Utah State. Jake and Ben taking over right here on The Zone.